because that appears to be the place to be broadcasting. Awnings are up in the pit lane, ponchos are on in the grandstand, umbrellas are up, and the rain is still continuing to fall. It is continuing on at the moment. We're expecting this to continue for another at least 19 minutes before we are able to start thinking about any sort of resumption. But the thought earlier, looking about 10 minutes ago, looking at the weather radar from the paddock, was that they are looking and hoping for a break in the weather at the turn of the hour. And then we'd look at the procedures. It's a 10-minute warning, then a 5-minute warning, then 3 and 2 and 1, and then hopefully we can see cars go racing around this magnificent circuit.
It's hosing down again now outside the Coventry trucks.
Okay, so glass half full and glass half empty.
Well, we're still hoping the break in the weather is going to come very shortly, but it is it's getting wetter before it's going to get drier. Wondering if the Red Bull guys can send a couple of those brews up to the commentary box now as well.
Oh dear! Did no one do that yet? All right, Jonah's got to earn. He's got to earn his his brew before it comes. Brilliant effort from the fans. This is the moment that, if you are surrounded with a great atmosphere, and then we get the cars out on the track and we get a great Grand Prix, you look back at this. Silverstone 2008. I was in the grandstand. Rain like this, raining sideways, miserable, amazing Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton won it by a minute, an all-time great day in Formula One history.
You love it, don't you? You love being there for big sporting moments. This is a bit of a pain. Tom Deacon has found the best group of fans around the circuit who are here having their first time in Belgium and still enjoying this weather. But when, hopefully, we get a Grand Prix going, this could be, it just feels like it could be a momentous day still. And that's what everyone's hoping for still. Rain in Belgium when we do get going. This is a difficult circuit to master. So talk me through the camping experience at the Belgian Grand Prix.
It is a unique one.
Were you on the beer stand? Were you one of the hardened fans?
Yeah, the joy of it, we turned up a little bit late, so we ended up in the part of the field that was down the hill. We're like, this is much closer to the circuit. Why has no one pitched their tent here? And then we found out, after quite a lot of rainfall overnight, that the reason that they've not pitched their tent there is because your tent will flood, should that happen. So off to a dreadful start. And the rain continued all the way through, as it is right now. The reward, though, was watching trackside around here. Cool on corner, epic. And the great thing is there's so many general access views as well. You can put your folding chairs up, maybe not with the setup that Alex Brundle was talking about. That guy had a camp chair, folding chair, full plastic awning, and then beer holder. He was having the time of his life, and that was at it was on the rock next to the chicane, and then. Yeah, that was the race. That was the race where Robert Wickens scored one of the great junior single-seater wins when he worked out that he could time out the race. That rule doesn't exist anymore. It was on the Kemmel Straight. He worked out if you just back off, the maximum time of the race will elapse, and he had damage at the front of the car, and he still took the victory.
I remember it well because I was also here as a fan, and this is 2010, I believe,
it is.
And Robert Wickens was on slicks in conditions that ended up not dissimilar from this. It was absolutely bonkers, and he was under the safety car conditions, just trying to stay on the road. And he did time it out, didn't he? Didn't he have like no front wing on the car or something? He'd already binned it, and then was just hobbling over the line for one of the great wins.
And then after that, they added a lap after that situation. Okay, Hassar in conversation. That's been found from somewhere. Who's got that in the luggage? That is very, very good stuff there. Charles Leclerc's got the headset on. He's hearing the team conversation. He'll be able to hear them back in Maranello. It's not just the staff that you bring to a racetrack that are involved in executing a Grand Prix run plan in 2025. And he's got some water as well.
It must be the water.
Yay!
It's really difficult for the drivers to keep your head in the game here as well. This is a lengthy delay, obviously, and you do all your preparation. We knew that a threat of rain was coming. I didn't know this morning that it was going to be this heavy at the time of race start, and So all of your prep, Leclerc's sitting here with a lower downforce package as well. So it's about to be treacherous when he does get on circuit. But you have this, you get your adrenaline up, you go there for the front, for the anthem, and get back in the car. Remember, we've already had a formation lap. And so they've had a look around, and then you calm down, you're now sitting in the garage trying to stay cool, but you don't want to completely switch off either, because you're about to do what is one of the most intense races of the season. It probably will be at this rate.
Well, these are the pictures that we can currently show you of a great place to go racing. We've been unable to do so, but there is blue sky outside of my commentary box in the distance. The rain continuing to fall means we can catch up with another personality down in the pit lane with Ariana Bravo. She's speaking to Alan Permet.
Alan, great starting positions for your drivers today for when things do get underway. How are the team feeling coming in today, given all the learnings that you've had so far?
We're feeling good. We were expecting let's say mixed conditions today, and we've set the car up accordingly, so we were happy in either condition, so we're not disappointed to see the rain.
And in terms of what you think is possible out there, where do you think the strengths of the car lie, especially with the competition you have around you?
So definitely the strength is in that middle sector, where we're carrying maybe a little bit more downforce than others, which will be very useful in these conditions.
Thank you very much.
And that was Alan Permet in his first weekend of being team principal at Racing Bulls, but a hugely experienced character in Formula One. That graphic, incredible. 36 years working in F1.
Most of it at Enstone as well. Benetton, that became Renault, that became Lotus and Renault again. And then I rocked up.
You set yourself that exam there. I was impressed.
I know, I regretted it halfway through. And then it became Alpine. But yeah, a character that I've been lucky enough to work with as well for a few years. No nonsense. Imposing on a team, I would say.
He is very old school and imposing, but in terms of the promotion to the team principal role, there's few people better qualified to step up to that role than Alan Permet. Incredible experience of great years, of fallow years, of years where it's working brilliantly, years where there's tumult in the team, championship winning campaigns with Schumacher and Alonso. He's been through every incarnation of Formula One.
I have so much respect for him, actually, because he's got just a natural feel for a race. So often I think you get engineers that are really, the technical knowledge is amazing. But, you know, we operate so much on data and numbers and this sort of thing, whereas I quite like Permet's old school, stick your hand out from under the pit wall and yes, it's raining, yes, it's a bit more than drizzle, let's pit for inters. I think his natural feel for the race, of course he's across the data and everything as well, you know, he's been in the sport so long, he's seen it evolve from the 1990 US Grand Prix and has just built up that experience. But working with him was a pleasure because his natural feel for things I thought was second to none. I had my team when I rocked up, Lotus. I was reserve driver. Grosjean and Maldonado were driving. Alan Permet is the sporting director. Chief engineer, Ayo Komatsu.
Yeah, it's amazing the amount of people that have made their way through Enstone to lofty positions.
And when I'm working with them, I knew straight away these guys are really smart. Ayo was leading your engineering meetings as the chief engineer, was across what was going on, and you just knew straight away this guy's technical brain is so good, and he's brought Haas forward, hasn't he? He's done a fantastic job since taking over from Günther Steiner. And yeah, now they're team principals together. Jonathan Wheatley worked back in Benetton days with Alan Permet as well, also getting the nod to Sauber. I mean, sometimes just a lot of hard work and a lot of years, it pays off. It's great to see them getting these promotions.
Yeah, Jonathan Wheatley was reflecting on that in the press conference earlier in the week when he was saying he's so pleased that so many of his friends have found their way to a team principal role in Formula One. Not only that, we've had a huge turnover in the last 2 years of Formula One. Toto Wolff is now the longest serving team principal in Formula One. He's been there 14 years at Mercedes. Everyone else has a maximum stint of a couple of years. So, of course, you come in, you've got your ethos, you want to hire your people as well. It's led to a huge amount of chopping and changing of personnel in the paddock. But we're watching the lack of action so far in the replay package at the moment. I want to give you an update from the FIA. They've said they anticipate the rain will stop at 4 o'clock local time. That's in 9 minutes' time. They will then target a start as soon as the standing water has been cleared from the track.
There's blue sky. There is blue sky. This is official from the commentary box. There is blue sky above us. I'm so excited. We're going to get a race, hopefully getting away soon.
He's glass half full again, folks. It's good news from the commentary box. Let's see what it looks like downstairs with Laura and Alex.
Thank you, guys. I have my fingers crossed as well, because I was a bit doom and gloom, I have to be honest, when we saw the rain coming down and just the grey skies above. I'm going to very bravely say, Alex, we can drop the umbrella.
Fingers crossed.
I am saying...
Look up there. That is
stopped
official
raining,
sky.
and there is sunshine here. There is blue sky here. There are still a few spits and spots. We're going to ignore that for the effect of the umbrella drop. But come on, that is better. So what now do they have to do to get this race going, to clear some of that water?
Yeah, well, you see the leaf blowers here out on the back of the tractors there. We're trying to clear away as much standing water as they possibly can and get the race back underway again. But that won't, this amount of rain won't be adding to any of the standing water. It's also warming up a little bit, which should help. When they do get back underway, we've clipped up Verstappen's pole lap from last year to give you a sense of what the drivers are up against, because it was in intermediate conditions. For the pole lap last year, he actually ended up starting 11th as a result of this pole lap, having taken an engine penalty. But here's a sense of what the drivers have to do. And I said the lap here at Spa is imprinted in the driver's mind. He actually takes the apex of La Source. Then it's all about getting off the rubber line when you're driving around here, and this is what you're going to see: the drivers battling over the areas of the circuit. You're going to see the drivers battling over. See, he turns in slightly late and stays away a little bit from that top curve in the middle of Eau Rouge. You were talking, JP, about it being flat out in intermediate conditions, and he still was flat there last year to take pole position, Max Verstappen. This is when the karting line comes in, a bit of a late turn in again for the first part of Les Combes. You can see crosses the rubber line there and has a bit of a shimmy, slightly wide through the mid-corner of Malmedy. Brussels then charges the apex, but out there's where all the grip is. That's what they're going to be looking for. You'll see, as we saw in the Formula 2 race earlier, laps and overtaking moves completed on that outside line by the drivers. Rubber and water react really nastily for the grip of a tyre. That's why you'll see drivers staying off it if they possibly can around here. At a circuit, drivers drive so many laps in wet conditions around, battling with the steering wheel. And as I listen to this and watch this lap, the sun is shining on my left cheek. It's gorgeous in the paddock, out on that outside curve. Got to be careful of that one. Verstappen, very brave, as you might imagine. And then this is the area of the circuit, lads, I would chalk up for my scary wet area. Parmesan Eau Rouge, Blanchimont can get pretty hairy in wet conditions. Still flat out for Verstappen, but if you get any standing water, that's really, really tough. Offline, you can see, look, when he initially hits the brakes, down to the final chicane, and then it's basically a scrabble to the line. One thing driving the track, wet conditions, Laura, it's another thing racing this place in wet conditions with those sequences that flow into each other. So this one is going to be worth waiting for, I think, because it's great. And you can see I've not put the umbrella down properly. There we go. It's great to watch racing around here with the punch and counter punch in wet conditions.
We're having to have F1 crew here rescue the umbrella that Alex left fully open, ready to blow onto the track.
The magic of television destroyed, thank you.
I know, thankfully the umbrella has gone down. That sun now is coming out, is so much warmer, isn't it? But look, we've been talking about downforce all weekend and about adjusting the level of it and who takes the risk with a little bit less to be super fast on the straights, but battling against the weather. I think it's fair to say that yesterday it looked like the rain was going to reduce by around 3 p.m. Then this morning when we looked at the radars, suddenly we had a very wet whole afternoon into the evening here. We now have a break in the weather. They're going to be working incredibly hard out there to clear some of this standing water and get a race start here. You've got to feel for the fans. In terms of the downforce though, how are the drivers feeling who've put a little bit less on to qualify a bit better?
Yeah, they'll be hoping
how wet it is.
They'll be hoping it dries up really quickly. Bit of a reminder then, drivers in the hot seat carrying more downforce are both McLarens. They put a little bit more on. Oliver Behrman is your driver in the mid-pack. Haas split the cars between Ocon and Behrman. Ocon with a little bit less, Behrman with a little bit more. Drivers potentially in trouble. Charles Leclerc has a bit less, carried that with a 5 km/h benefit in qualifying. George Russell with a little bit less, and then of course those drivers who will start the race from the pit lane when we get going had the opportunity to change the car and potentially put a little bit downforce on. So those are the sort of runners and riders. Verstappen loading downforce on after the sprint race. That gives you a feel for who has the car for these conditions, and then they'll be looking for how quickly it dries up.
I like this when we get going, because we will. We are staying optimistic here at Spa that we are not going to have a repeat of what we've seen here before. We will get racing, I'm sure of it. When we do, I'd imagine a rolling start.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the plan was initially, and I don't see why the conditions would have changed unless it dries up incredibly quickly, mainly because the drivers haven't seen these conditions throughout the weekend so far, apart from a bit of a potter about before we went to red flag. So yeah, a rolling start, get them underway. That also lets the clock begin for the Grand Prix. So they'll be able to do that. Then Grand Prix must be undertaken within 2 hours of running and within a period of 3 hours, and it's a sliding scale depending on how much of the race we get away. We're obviously hoping still we get a full distance here.
Absolutely, and I was just about to ask you that question, that we have a time limit, don't we? That's it. It's 3 hours from when the race is declared to have started. We just heard a roar around the grandstand, so I'm hoping you've perhaps heard some good news as to a restart time maybe. We'll head back to you guys in commentary.
Thank you very much, Laura. Yes, the sun has come out, the ponchos are down, the umbrellas are down, and the spirits are up. Into race mode we go. The sun is shining at Spa once again, and one man who is having a really encouraging weekend so far is Yuki Tsunoda. He's got a new team principal, and he scored his best qualifying result with Red Bull in that weekend. Let's hear from him now. He's been in conversation this weekend with Lawrence Beretta.
Yuki, a fantastic qualifying for you yesterday. Sets you up nicely for this grid, but of course these conditions, very challenging. But how are you feeling about getting out there eventually?
Yeah, I just drove behind the safety car for formation lap. I mean, visibility is the main issue. To be honest, I think with a single car, probably easy to drive, but yeah, hope we can race as soon as possible. Yeah, hope, especially the fans waiting for within this condition. So yeah, finger crossed.
This is a track that requires confidence at any point, but especially in conditions like this. How confident are you feeling in the car this weekend?
Yeah, feeling good, especially on qualifying. I clearly felt difference, especially in general load. So yeah, looking forward to the race, definitely more than usual. But at the same time, have to finish off with the points and to achieve that, I need this race. So yeah, let's see how it goes, and yeah, stick the race and feel the car.
Thank you very much, Yuki. Go well.
Yuki Tsunoda finding himself with a great opportunity today, starting back in the top 10 for the first time in 6 races, looking to score his first points since Imola in the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix earlier this year. And one of the reasons that he is P7 on the grid is the new team principal at Red Bull insisted that Yuki Tsunoda get the update to the floor, trying to get that second car closer to the spec of reigning world champion Max Verstappen. The reason for that change, the new CEO and team principal at Red Bull Racing, Laurent Mekies, and he's been speaking to Lawrence Beretta.
Laurent, well, firstly, congratulations on the new job. Team principal of Red Bull. How does it feel?
Well, you know, obviously it came out of the blue, as for you guys, so mine was probably quite similar to you. You know, I received a call a few hours before everyone was made aware, and it was from you know, Oliver and Helmut, and of course it took me by surprise. Initially, I asked them a few hours to think about it, and then you quickly realize that it's Red Bull calling you to step in that role. How can it be anything else than an honor and a privilege? So that's so you get that Red Bull energy feeling there, and it's been only 2 weeks, and you are nowhere near where you want to be, but it's a complete different feeling once you start that process and you get to know more people every day. So it makes it quite an incredible journey.
How tough was it to say goodbye to your Racing Bulls family?
Of course, you feel a bit strange to leave the boat, but on the other side, the team is in perfect hand. Alan is just the best possible guy to take the team principal role there. He knows the team upside down. With all the team around him, you know the trajectory is going to continue. You know the team is going to continue to move up the grid. And then on the other side, we are still both working for Red Bull. Both teams are working for Red Bull. It's the same family, and we are going to continue to see each other.
So what have the board kind of said to you in terms of like the target and the future? Because obviously the team's going through a little bit of a difficult period in terms of performance and competitiveness.
You have the fire at every level of the company in terms of how aggressively and the level of aggressions you want to put in every single level of the company to be able to give that fight for the wins and for the championships a big try.
Now, obviously, it won't have escaped your attention that there's been a lot of chatter about Max's future. Is that one thing that you probably need to delve into a little bit more, just to ensure that that kind of story can be put to bed?
The truth is, Red Bull is hugely committed to Max, and the way we can be hugely committed to Max is by giving him the best possible car. We need his magic at the racetrack, and he has been with the team for a very long time. He has a huge inputs in helping us driving the next competitive edge that we will need to build.
What a weekend it's been for Laurent Mekies so far then. Sprint win with Max Verstappen yesterday. Yuki Tsunoda having his best qualifying so far with Red Bull on his 10th weekend now with the team, having worked with Laurent before at Racing Bull. Starts 7th today and has a decent chance as well of moving forward when we get this race going, which I'm hopeful will be ever closer. There was big cheers, Alex Jakes, as the safety car headed round. Got a rapturous applause at every corner.
Hello, Jolyon Palmer. Here we go again then. We're into hour 2. It is 3 minutes past 4 local time. You're looking at Andy Carroll, who is part of that new wave of team principal that we've had in Formula One in the last couple of years, speaking to the team owner, Lawrence Stroll there, through the tyres, the championship leader. Oscar Piastri waiting on, and he finds himself looking with not much to do at the moment. What a wait we've had, an hour delay, but the sun has been shining now for over 10 minutes. In this situation, the drivers will just be hoping. Great pose from Hadjo, who's beginning to get back into the zone there after an hour's delay. It's going to be his first Grand Prix start around this circuit. We've got to remind ourselves that we've seen so many great performances from these drivers that there are rookies in the order. So the race will resume, or begin, at 20 minutes past the hour. 20 past 4 local time. In exactly 15 minutes, the cars will head back out onto the circuit, and hopefully we can send them round a couple of times, clear the standing water from the surface, and get the Belgian Grand Prix underway.
Time to get heads back into gear then for everyone. The guys at the front was Orlando Norris chatting to Andrea Stella, talking tactics, strategy. I mean, I don't dream about a slick crossover just yet, but with the sun still beaming down, the track is drying quite quickly. So there is so much to play into this Grand Prix still. You asked me about an hour ago which corners become corners in the wet that you don't think about in the dry. I said Eau Rouge. It is such a critical corner in the wet. In the dry, flat out. In the wet, any lift and you carry that loss all the way up the Kemmel Straight towards Les Combes. You are now grip limited in these conditions, and it's such an overtaking opportunity as well coming through there. So it becomes a really hairy corner that the drivers will meet pretty much straight away. 130 metres to the first corner, La Source. It's a right-hand hairpin. And then they'll drop down and see the epic Eau Rouge corner unfold right in front of them. And literally, the more you risk it, the more you are rewarded. You keep your foot in and you get payback all the way down that straight. Maybe you can blast past the car ahead, but we know the perils of that corner as well. So that's the one that's going to be on people's minds as they're buckling up again now.
Oh, it really is a special racetrack. It's got a great atmosphere, and those fans are about to be rewarded. We are 14 minutes away from the resumption of the Belgian Grand Prix of 2025, but there is so much to look forward to for the rest of the season, including James Hinchcliffe, our very own James Hinchcliffe, getting behind the wheel of a Formula One car around another epic circuit in Mugello. Let's check in with a really exciting day. He was so excited for this. He'll be back with us in Budapest. This is his seat fit with Haas. F1 TV special coming your way in a few weeks' time. Let's take a look.
We're here at the MoneyGram Haas F1 team factory in Banbury, England. And yeah, any day at an F1 factory is a good day, but today is a little extra special. I am getting fit into a VF23 because later this year, I get to turn my very first laps in a Formula One car. Well, Dom, thank you so much for having me here.
More than welcome, more than welcome.
So yeah, kind of walk me through the steps of what we're doing today.
So we need you to be comfy in the car. So we need to make you a seat that holds you real tight, and also it's protection for you as well. We'll make sure your head's in the right place, because then we'll put a bag in. We'll then get you to sit back in, and then we'll fill that bag with expanding foam. We'll do all the trimming, make it look quite nice. Yeah, just make sure we're happy with everything. It's still pretty rough, but it's a pretty good impression of your body. The final step, obviously, we'll cover this. It'll look lovely, and you won't see any of this detail, but this is what's actually underneath it.
Right. So from your side, I mean, how'd it go?
Very good. Easy customer.
So I've got a lot of homework coming my way.
Yes.
A lot of buttons on a Formula One steering wheel.
Yeah.
I imagine my biggest goal between now and Italy is just strengthen my neck as much as physically possible.
Yeah, of all the circuits to pick, it's a big boy one. You'll feel what it can do.
Thank you so much for everything today.
Hi,
Appreciate you and all the boys helping me out.
Yeah.
Can't wait for Italy.
Cool.
What a day. James Hinchcliffe has to come in his life. He's been on pole for the Indy 500, but he's never driven a lap in a Formula One car. He's going to get that honour, and we will have him back on the team in Budapest. He'll be with us for the conclusion of the season as we decide who is the champion driver and constructor of the world in 2025.
What a circuit for it as well. He is going to have to train his neck. All of those years driving around the ovals and building up, beefing the neck, and Hinch is going to have to get back to it. What an experience it'll be for him. The cars have got so much speed and downforce now. I'm looking forward to his feedback. And that, by the way, was Dom Haynes, who was another member of the Lotus 2015 team that I was part of with the engineering team. He was the strategist at the time. So we had Alan Permain, sporting director, Ayo Komatsu, chief engineer, and Dom Haynes, who went on to be a race engineer for Romain Grosjean at Haas, and is still there as part of the team.
Okay, we're getting closer and closer to the drivers getting into race mode, getting the mindset ready to do battle around this circuit where in the dry it can be very, very difficult to overtake. In the wet it is a different prospect entirely. Isaac Hadjar seemed very motivated, given his performance in Formula 2 here last year, where he dominated the feature race. You can understand why. He will start from 8th position in what we're expecting to be a rolling start for the 13th Grand Prix of the season. There is the championship leader, 9 points. He's ahead of Lando Norris. Lando Norris trying to win 3 Grand Prix in a row for the first time in his Formula One career, as Piastri makes his way back. So that hour delay, driver's just desperate to get back in the car and get back to that muscle memory feeling of what they do best.
Yeah, gotta switch it on and just get back to all of the thoughts you had before, because it all still stands. We're still looking at a full distance Grand Prix, hopefully, and major points, championship ramifications at play as well. Max Verstappen here getting back in, starting 4th today, and has a great chance of mixing it with the McLarens with the high downforce Red Bull. His favourite circuit, Oscar Piastri's favourite circuit as well. They've both got to deal with Lando Norris on pole position, and I think for Max it's going to be important to clear Charles Leclerc pretty quickly in this one as well, so he doesn't lose ground. We saw Leclerc in the sprint dropping back, Ferrari, and not having the easiest of weekends. I mean, Hamilton's had a really tough weekend and will be from the pit lane But Leclerc, even in the wet conditions, may well struggle because he's on the lower downforce. So Verstappen needs to clear him, and then I would expect 3 cars for the win. And to call between them right now is anyone's guess.
Max Verstappen starting from 4th. Charles Leclerc prioritised speed over downforce and grip through the corners in the Ferrari. That's a Ferrari, updated Ferrari, with a new suspension package for this weekend. That's Gabriel Bortoleto, who's due to start this race in 10th position.
Some rapid eye movements for Bortoleto. Scanning across, trying to get himself back in the zone. Alex Albon staring forward, focus, head in the game right now. 5th place on the grid for Albon. What an opportunity for him and Williams. They saw their advantage slashed, didn't they, last time out by Sauber. Huge result for Nico Hülkenberg, the podium. You wouldn't rule Hülkenberg out from doing something similar from 14th. That's the way it's been going. But Albon back in the mix, and it's great to see Williams with a strong start ahead of George Russell. And George has spent plenty of time, hasn't he, behind Alex this year?
Yeah, he was saying on the driver's parade he wants to avoid that. He wants to get him immediately, and there is the driver at the head of the field. His 4th pole of the year. Verstappen has 4, Piastri has 4, and yesterday Lando Norris has 4 pole positions for the season. McLaren, the runaway constructors leaders, and then it's Ferrari in 2nd, Mercedes in 3rd, Red Bull in 4th position, and then that battle that Jonan was talking about. Williams have been 5th for a long time in this campaign, but Sauber closing in, and Hülkenberg has gained 10 or more places 4 times in the 12 races we have run so far this year. So on a day like this, when experience counts for so much, when it's feel in the low grip, that is when you can get drivers that wouldn't normally be contenders step forward, and at the back, a very, very quick quartet. It was Carlos Sainz, Lewis Hamilton, Kimi Antonelli and Fernando Alonso making changes to the car, and as a result dropping to the rear of the field. 4 drivers starting in the pit lane is a record for a Grand Prix. It's happened 3 times before. As Lando Norris gets into the car, he is 9 points back from Oscar Piastri. Max Verstappen 68 points back from the championship lead. 25 for a win. If you're one of our newer fans joining us, if this is your first Belgian Grand Prix, you are in for a treat. They are watching between the pines. Any view will do when the racetrack is this good. You've got Franco Colapinto fans there, you've got Lando Norris fans, but the wonderful thing about Formula One in the modern age is that so many drivers, every team, every driver with support lining the racetrack, and we're getting the message on our screen that they're going through and they're checking that the track sectors are clear. That is the procedure at the start of the Grand Prix. And we are under 6 minutes to go until the green light will illuminate. Bernd Mailander, the safety car driver since 2000. He's missed a couple of races in that time. There's an amazing run that he's had as the reliable driver behind the wheel, former touring car driver, and he was elected to be the safety car driver. He's held that position ever since. He'll lead us out onto the longest lap of the year, 4.3 miles, 19 turns. And then we can get down to the business that we've been waiting for a while now, and getting the Grand Prix underway.
This track's going to dry quickly. I mean, already look at that. Down is at the top of the hill there, La Source, and then the water will run and stream down towards Eau Rouge. But the sun is still out. The temperature, it was down to 14, 13 degrees with the cloud cover. Now we're up to a booming 17 degrees. And once we get these cars out there, building up the speed, clearing that moisture with their intermediate tyres, this track will dry, I think, and there'll be plenty in the field that will be really hoping that's the case sooner rather than later. It's nice Formula One at the moment, isn't it? We get huge crowds from all over the world.
We really do.
At so many different venues. This is one of the old school ones. We've already seen plenty of shots of the Dutch crowd that have come over. They've got their own home race coming up soon, but everyone has a chance as well.
Okay, Kimmy, so at the moment information we have is it'll be a minimum of 2 laps behind the safety cars, 2 laps behind the safety car, and then they'll call it.
So they're using that to assess visibility. So we'll have the race starting behind the safety car, a couple of laps to assess the visibility, and then it's finally time to go racing. The tunes are blaring on the main straight. It's nearly time for the action in Belgium to begin. The Orange Army are ready, but they were ready before. In the pouring rain, they are always in song for Max Verstappen.
Norris will be happy. The race starting behind the safety car suits the race leader.
I think McLaren will be happy overall with
They'll
that.
be delighted.
Because they've got the form car. If they can get away, they believe they can run and hide in this race. But that's one thing. Max Verstappen gets past Charles Leclerc, different story entirely.
Well, it's one variable that is now known. They have first and second, and they will keep first and second over the line to start. And they shouldn't be under pressure from Leclerc on that first lap. And Leclerc will hold that over Verstappen as well, who is great off the line in wet conditions. Some of his starts, and when you're from a standing start, it's all about feeding in that throttle without bringing the wheel spin. And Verstappen's got such a great knack of doing that. But that's not going to be in play today then, with the race starting behind the safety car. So Max is going to have to do it at racing speed on Charles. And for Lando, it just settles the nerves a little bit, because a standing start in the wet is so difficult to get. You know, the inconsistencies are just immense when you don't know how wet it is. The starting revs, the clutch drop, all of these things you're kind of winging. Whereas actually now he can just settle, find a rhythm. He'll get a lap or two behind the safety car just to feel where the grip is, and then he'll be in charge and he can set the pace as the restart goes.
Okay, plenty for the drivers to assess when it comes to the grip on the racetrack. Alex Brundle, it's going to be so important to assess the conditions.
It really is. I agree with you with regards to the McLarens being happy about it being a rolling start. What they lose if there are several laps of safety car here, though, are the opportunity to use that McLaren, which is really strong in these conditions, to generate a gap early on in the race over the cars that'll be less suited to the conditions further back. You've obviously got cars behind them on less downforce. An early wet start would give them the opportunity to drive away. I think it's going to dry pretty quickly now. It's warmed up a lot. You've also got the wind, which has picked up a decent amount, 6 kilometers per hour wind, which is a tailwind down the Kemmel Straight, which always helps teams and drivers or the circuit to move towards a decision towards slicks relatively early. And then, of course, if we get this warmer condition for a couple of laps with 20 Formula One cars pounding round it, it dries up incredibly quickly. As soon as you've got temperature in a slick around Spa, as soon as you've got load, then you can start to make it work, even if there are still some wet areas around the circuit. And we've seen that early jump to slicks work, not least last time out at Silverstone. It's going to be a fascinating start to the race. And then remember what we said in the pre-show. If some of those midfield teams who maybe don't have the car underneath them for wet conditions get this call absolutely right, they can gain track position. And you know how important track position is around Spa this weekend. We saw it in the sprint race. So difficult to overtake if you end up ahead in dry conditions. That's what they're going to try to aim to do. Nail the crossover from wet to slick.
Thank you, Alex. Let's go motor racing in 37 seconds time. The Formula One World Championship is about to resume. It is round 13 and it's intermediate tyres on the cars. The teams have had to wait, but we are going to resume our battle between Oscar Piastri, the championship leader, Lando Norris, who is 9 points back, and 68 points back, the reigning world champion, Max Verstappen, who said yesterday, any win this season will do, but these are conditions in which he thrives. McLaren know that if it dries out, they have a car that should leave the field behind, but nothing is going how the script expected here today in Belgium. The best news is we have a green light illuminated at the end of the pit lane. The green flag is being shown to the drivers, and we are ready to get the Belgian Grand Prix underway behind the safety car. And then we're going to assess the conditions, I promise you. Then we're going racing.
I can already tell you it's so much drier than when we tried to get this one going before. There's almost parts where there's no spray down towards Eau Rouge now. The championship connotations of this one are huge. 9 points between the two McLarens. If Norris wins, it will be at least down to 2. He could even take the championship lead again in this Grand Prix. If Piastri wins, it blows back out towards the most he's had, which is 22 points in the championship. It will go at least 16. So we're at crunch time in the championship in terms of, do we go all square? Does Piastri fight back? And this is the sort of race where really it is all to play for over the 44 laps. So we're into that right now, and Max Verstappen's getting a taste of the grip coming through Les Combes, and this just looks raceable straight away.
It does look a lot better from our helicopter shot here. And Norris and Piastri lead the way. Charles Leclerc in third position in this order. Verstappen in fourth place. Piastri reporting on the radio. Kemmel Straight was still pretty tricky in terms of visibility. He's the first car in the order facing F1 car.
Oscar, how's the visibility?
Quite a lot better than before. Through Rouge. After Rouge, it's still quite bad. Yeah, the straight's still pretty bad.
I think we've got to get racing, haven't we? I think we've got to get racing. This is not too bad, I don't think. On board with 10th place Gabriel Bortoletto, and it looks just like it's drying so quickly through Pouhon. Quick corner, you've got to stay off the curbs, all of that comes back into play. But look at the track, I mean, there's barely standing water at all.
I can tell you the chatter on the radio, Max Verstappen saying, get on with it, agreeing with you, saying this is wasteful, we need to go racing. Oscar Piastri has given his information. His teammate Lando Norris has said, couple of laps, let's assess things. Different feedback on the radio. Race control will be monitoring all of it before we get the green flag and the race to begin.
Yeah, there already looks like there's some dry patches. I mean, we've got to get racing here. I think we could have been going a while ago, actually, looking at this. Obviously, the rain was intense, but the sun is drying the track so quickly. Now we've got the cars out. We are looking at slicks at some point in the not-too-distant future.
And they're going to tear through those intermediates even before they get there as well. So this is going to be a race where we're going to see all of the drivers' skill on display. The air temperature is 17 degrees, the track temperature is 25 degrees. And we go over the line past our commentary box position for another lap. That was advertised. Many drivers in this field would love the safety car to peel in at the end of this one and get things underway.
Yeah, so different drivers have different feedback, and it's all obviously for personal gain here. This suits Norris. We're now on to lap 2 of 44, and he's just ticking down the laps in the lead of the race. There's less to do for him to win. For Verstappen, he's got more to do to win, so he wants to get on with it and make the most of racing laps rather than processional laps behind the safety car.
I remind you, if you need, you can extend to 20 car lengths.
So Charles Leclerc being told about the gap that he can leave. You cannot go beyond that without receiving a penalty. It's about having the optimum run up the hill, isn't it? It's about getting that gap that allows you to use any momentum. You must stay in formation, though. You cannot overtake behind the safety car until you get across the line, the start-finish line, to begin the Grand Prix.
That gap that's usually 10 car lengths, but it's understandable that drivers would drop a little bit further back, so up to 20 in these conditions. So here we go. Carlos Sainz building speed now. He's given that gap, and I think we've got to get racing. I mean, there is always going to be some spray. We're driving in wet conditions still for the moment, and you're never going to have no spray. Then you might as well bolt on some slicks. But I think that's drivable there for Sainz. Visor cam is as good a shot as we can get, and there will be a little bit. The Kemmel Straight is as bad as it gets, as the mist can just hang there. But look how dry it is coming through Pouhon.
So risk versus reward on the opening lap. If you're in the middle of the pack, how does the mindset change compared to when you're at the front in conditions like this after Lewis's radio?
It's drying pretty quick.
Copy it.
It really depends, driver to driver, confidence to confidence, and what you've got. If you're someone like Ollie Behrman, he's got downforce on the car, you've got to make the most of that right now when everyone else is scrabbling around trying to get up to speed. And I think it's worth risking a little bit more if you're feeling like there's something in there today with the confidence. If you're Oscar Piastri as well, this will be his best chance at catching Lando slightly unawares as Lando's trying to feel the grip, Oscar's trying to feel the grip. The start of this race might be his best chance to just find that grip a little bit quicker and make the move. With every lap that we go, we pass, even behind the safety car, the drivers are feeling that little bit more, they're learning a bit more, and they'll sort of equalise a bit in terms of performance. When they get thrown into it, that first lap is when you're going to have the biggest differential between the best and the worst in the field.
The right side of the grid still a lot wetter than the left. Yeah, it's not side to side equal.
Yeah, that's clear on the video.
So Lando Norris is worried about a standing start. That's how much the track is drying. Lando Norris is worried that we're going to line up behind the safety car is going to peel in, park up on the grid and get the 5 red lights on.
Well, that's where we're heading now, isn't it? That is now the rule. When the safety car comes in, the race control can choose to either release them or do a standing start. And Lando, I saw Oscar on the last lap driving over the outside line, which is where he will be in second place. And right now, I see no reason we can't start the race, and we can't start there. Obviously, Lando now is looking, he's thinking, I'm going to be at a big disadvantage here because it's wetter, it's going to be more slippery, I'm not going to find the traction. It's 137 metres. It's such a short run to La Source. The monster run is up here, up the Kemmel Straight. And he's just looking, he's thinking, oh no, this is disadvantageous for me. That's kind of how it goes in the wet.
Lewis Hamilton asking for the race to begin. Max Verstappen asking for the race to begin. That's a 7-time world champion and a 4-time world champion getting on the radio to their teams and requesting that the green flag fly. It is race control's discretion whether we get a rolling start or a standing start. So that is the nature. We've got the safety car out to roll out of the pit lane, but they continue on, and then it will be time. They'll be monitoring all of the radio chatter. When you basically get 75%, that is usually when race control feel that they have the confidence. Race director Rui Marquez is the man making the decision, and if the safety car is going to be withdrawn, there he is. The safety car is going to be withdrawn. We're going to get that message in a couple of seconds' time, given where we are on the racetrack.
Yeah, we can go now. We can go now. I hear Lando Norris has been on the radio again saying a lap or two more. With every lap, his side of the grid will dry out. He's gaining. But it's literally dry on the outside there into Stabilo. There's dry parts. There's still intermediate tyres, definitely, and this is part of the drier bit of the circuit. Round into the first corner down towards Eau Rouge, it is wetter, but the track is drying so quickly. I think this is very cautious from race control here.
The race control erring on the side of caution because of the corner that Jolyon has been describing to you in the last hour. That is Eau Rouge, and they're worried about that pinch point at the top of the hill. Visibility there, that is the corner of concern, but quite a lot of drivers on the radio asking to go racing at the Belgian Grand Prix, and we should have been closing things out if it had been dry around this point, and we're just about ready to begin. We wait from the race director for the message that the green flag is a few moments away.
Rouge will be flat out before long.
You've driven these cars in the wet. You can tell Lando Norris knows the moment is coming sooner rather than later, hurrying the safety car up, knowing that tyre temperature and how quickly you can get temperature into those intermediate tyres is going to play a massive part. Some cars just naturally generate that tyre temperature better. Could see a huge amount of positions changing at the start of this run.
Yeah, it's your best opportunity to come through the field, especially if we do have a standing start, which we're not yet clear on, but I don't see a reason why we wouldn't right now. Let's have a look on board through Eau Rouge. There's not a lot of water, and there's a lot of speed now building for Max, who uses those 20 car lengths and accelerates there. This is where the spray lingers a bit more, up the Kemmel Straight. It's going to be a rolling start.
It's a rolling start, so they have judged that both sides of the grid are not equally dry, but it will be a rolling start. And you sensed from Lando Norris hurrying up the safety car. You see the lights have extinguished on the Aston Martin safety car. That tells us that we are going to go racing at the end of the lap, and the track is drying so quickly here. The steam Malmedy corner rising from the tarmac.
Is there gravel being skittled down there?
There are definitely leaves on the circuit. It's been pretty blowy. It's been pretty blowy out there. If you've been with us from the start, thank you so much for keeping us company. It has been great to be talking to you about this great venue. Slightly more build-up than we wanted. It's nearly time for the real thing. One of the great circuits on the planet. A great championship battle where Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. Max Verstappen, born in Belgium, just wants another win around here. He's chasing his 4th Grand Prix victory around this track. Last year, Oscar Piastri missed out by fine margins across the line. It was Lewis Hamilton who took the win here that day, and Lando Norris trying to win 3 Grand Prix in a row. The race start is about a minute away.
So Lando has his wish. There will be no standing start, and he will be able to control the pace as they launch onto lap 5, and he is doing that right now. Then backing the field up, Oscar just behind, getting your tyre temps back into the window. Bit of front weaving there. just weaving, warming the fronts for Oscar. Charles Leclerc behind as well. You've got to be bringing these tyres up, and then at some point looking after them, as you say. It's so easy when the track's drying to route the inters and make them a sort of slick to medium.
So how quickly can you get temperature in your tyres? How much risk are you prepared to take up the hill from Eau Rouge to Raidillon? And then the major braking zone on the racetrack is turn 5. The wait is over. You may not overtake until the start-finish line, but the speed increases, and after a delay of over an hour, it is time for the green flag to fly at Spa. Let's go racing at one of the great circuits on the planet. Norris leads the field back. Green flag racing at Spa, and round 13 of the Formula One World Championship is underway. Oscar Piastri peers through the spray, gets out of the braking zone. Norris, Piastri, Leclerc, Verstappen and Albon is the top 5 as we are about to dip down the hill and then climb it.
Who's got the bravery through Eau Rouge on lap 1? Lando had a bit of a slide trying to get on the gas.
Look at how close Oscar Piastri is to his teammate, hurrying him through. He's going to have an immediate opportunity. The two contenders for the title, side by side. Not anymore, they're not. Oscar Piastri on the attack to the race lead by turn 5.
He said earlier on he was looking at the conditions at Eau Rouge. Could he do it flat out? I wonder how far away he was there. The confidence he's got on this first lap has got him the race lead. It's what I said, it's his best chance if he can find that grip first, and he has done exactly that.
He talked about how much risk he was thinking about taking, and that was super brave. He was so close to Lando Norris climbing the hill. Piastri, then Norris. Charles Leclerc is the difference, and that was the only position change in the entire field.
Lando's not got confidence. As much we knew kind of from the radio messages saying don't start yet, don't start yet. Now we have started, and Oscar is checking out. Lando's now under pressure from Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen, and he is not happy in these conditions at all. Piastri has nailed it. He's done exactly what he needed to do. And now he has the clear view. Norris's view's not too bad because there's not that much spray even. But why does he have no pack? Well, they talk about energy deployment at that moment, but he should have it absolutely tip-top because we've been under safety car all these laps.
Well, if he didn't have the full deployment, there will be questions for the team to answer. Max Verstappen is looking very, very confident up against Charles Leclerc, closing in on the Ferrari in the battle for third position. But it's Oscar Piastri who got the effective start of the race that he needed, and he goes on to lap 6 as the race leader. Lando Norris 1.1 seconds behind. Piastri, huge risk up the hill, maximum attack. He was so close following Lando Norris, and he got by the time they got to Lake Cobb.
So all is okay on Norris's car. The reply is that you just used everything to try and keep the race lead. So as Norris looked behind and saw Piastri right there, he just slammed on the overtake button and deployed all his energy, and it still wasn't enough to keep the race lead. So now he's having to weather the storm right now with Leclerc and Verstappen behind, and then he'll start to find his mojo again.
The drivers are thinking about moves further back in the pack, including George Russell, who gets to the inside of Alex Albon and takes 5th position. So a lap to assess the conditions, and the Mercedes man gets past the Williams as Hamilton gets past Stroll. He is up to 17th.
Norris now looking more comfortable as well. He's just managed to hold that gap at a second to his teammate up the road, and now Leclerc is a second behind with Verstappen all over the back of him. Here we go then, with Max charging down to Pouhon. This is the move he has to try and get on with if he wants to win this race, I feel.
Max Verstappen, 4-time world champion, working the wheel. He was on the radio lap after lap after lap saying, get on with it, time to get going. And now he will see Charles Leclerc going slightly wider into the Fanion chicane, trying to hang on to the Ferrari, which does have less grip than the Red Bull behind. You can see the difference in wing levels between the two cars.
Verstappen will have a chance. Stavolo too, bouncing it off the curbs, already having the confidence to use what should be a more slippery surface. And now we can stretch flat out up towards Blanchimont corner, which still should be flat out even in these conditions. And can Max line up a move at the bus stop? I think he's going to be too far back. Of course, the Ferrari's quicker in a straight line.
So there's 0.8 of a second between the race lead. Piastri ahead of Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc in 3rd position for the moment. Max Verstappen looking really confident, certainly on the middle sector of the racetrack. Russell gained a position to 5th, and Sainz has gained a position, so has Hamilton. Stroll has fallen 2 places those are the overtakes that we've seen under green flag racing conditions.
So yesterday in the sprint, Max led the race, and the two McLarens had pace but didn't have straight line speed to pass. It's now role reversal for Verstappen. Red Bull added downforce to his car, and he's now sitting behind a more slippery Ferrari, and he's got to try and work an opportunity that he's not going to get on the straight at the moment. No DRS for now either, so he's going to have to manufacture something through the middle sector, which is where we're heading right now, and the area where we're seeing Charles Leclerc have some wider lines, trying to get that Ferrari back to the third sector where he's more comfortable.
Yeah, we've seen that a couple of corners. Sometimes you can go for a wet, wide line by design, but I think at the moment Charles Leclerc is just trying to rotate the car on a part of the circuit where the Red Bull is more effective. You can see Max Verstappen not using anywhere near as much racetrack as the Ferrari driver ahead. Norris has re-established himself nicely within a second of Oscar Piastri.
Yeah, so he's managed to find the grip now, and he's actually starting to nudge his way back towards his teammate, a tenth quicker on the last lap. And I wonder if we might have battle back on soon, if he can keep applying the pressure. Verstappen trying to work his way through that middle sector, but he's at the end of it now, and Leclerc's going to hang on for the moment.
So this is Liam Lawson, who started in 9th, and he remains in that position. Crucially for him, it's his teammate Isaac Hadjar, the rookie driver. And Liam Lawson is today completing the last Formula One venue he's not raced at, so he's got experience at all the other circuits after this one. And Lawson, Faizercam, brilliant Faizercam to show you the driver's eye view around the circuit. Piastri, Norris, Leclerc, Verstappen, and the only change in joining the top 5 is Russell. The change in the top 5 at the front was Piastri taking the race lead. This is Lewis Hamilton trying to unleash some Spa magic once again. Carlos Sainz is the Williams in front. At least he was late on the brakes, and that's a confident move for Hamilton as Antonelli goes wide in the background.
Yeah, really nice stuff there for Hamilton. Both bunched up behind Franco Colapinto ahead, and Lewis just keeping it pinned through Blanchimont, using the slipstream as well, and then finding the inside line for a move that gets him to 16th place, and now he's going to line up Colapinto as well for another one.
Max Verstappen in close proximity to Charles Leclerc, and you would be joining him on board because it's 0.4 of a second. You're looking into a wall of water, and you could see he's looking for a way by. Can't get close. That Ferrari's slippery in a straight line.
Yeah, you could feel Oscar's frustration from yesterday in the dry. Just want that extra little bit. If he can get close, he'll have the braking capabilities to try and put a lunge in, but he's just nowhere near close enough to try and make that work. Here comes Hamilton around the outside of Colapinto.
Lovely move for Lewis Hamilton, who seems a driver transformed compared to earlier in the weekend. He said it was a weekend to forget. Maybe not. Alex Albon was saying earlier on he expected Lewis Hamilton to roar through, and if you're thinking why on earth did he peel away from the best line there, it's because they're already thinking about keeping these intermediate tyres in a working window. You can't tear through the rubber without losing the grooves.
Well, it's a strange situation here where those that have in theory compromised themselves by going for a dry setup yesterday, they're going to get rewarded soon with the track drying out at the rate it is. Already there's drying parts. We're on lap 8 out of 44, so having less downforce is not costing them as much as it might have done if this race had started in the much wetter conditions we saw earlier on. It's not been a disaster for Russell or Leclerc, and Antonelli and Hamilton, who had the chance to make the changes. I don't know what you would have necessarily gone for in these conditions now.
And these conditions, it might seem strange to say for Kimi Antonelli, but we're riding on board with the Italian teenager a few moments ago. He thrives in the wet, so he's back to instincts. He's got a little bit lost in the dry in recent weeks, but Antonelli, he will be hoping to try and find his way by. And finding his way by is something that Lewis Hamilton is doing time and time again. That's the move he was looking for 2 weeks ago. Getting past Hülkenberg. Hamilton putting a charge together now. Nice run of laps. He's loving where the Ferrari is, because he said before he doesn't like this car in the wet. He does today.
Oh, this is class from Hamilton. Really, really great effort. That's 3 cars in 1 lap, isn't it? Bus stop to bus stop as he clears Hülkenberg and immediately looks at the next Alpine. Gasly up ahead.
Charles Leclerc is the lead Ferrari in this one. He's in 3rd position. Verstappen's able to get within 4/10 with 5/10, and then he's just not able, at the best overtaking opportunity on the racetrack, to do anything about it. But the less grip you have, the less downforce you have from that rear wing, and Charles Leclerc could be tearing through his tyres before Verstappen. Lewis Hamilton has come alive compared to the first 2 days of this Grand Prix weekend. He was the winner here last year. He's a 5-time winner of the Belgian Grand Prix, and he is just pointing and shooting right now.
It's not miles away from the points already. Yeah, Gasly ahead, who's sliding wide at Rivage. Difficult to do too much here because we're up straight into Speaker's Corner. You can just see both of them fighting the rear of the car.
You've used the word confidence time and time again. Hamilton has put together some of the best wet weather drives in the history of Formula One. They made the changes for these conditions, and he is all over the back of the Alpine in a part of the circuit that you wouldn't expect it. Hamilton undoing a lot of the damage of qualifying when he had his time deleted for track limits, and he at the moment just has a command of the car that is superior. You don't see many moves into Stavelot. There's another one for Lewis Hamilton.
It's just finding grip everywhere. This is old school Hamilton right now, schooling the rest of the midfield up into 13th, and he'll look in the distance and see Ollie Behrman and the two Haskars who were line astern, right, actually fighting each other, Behrman and Ocon, in towards the bus stop. But Hamilton is finding grip whilst others are just struggling in that midfield.
Sounds like someone locked a break into the final chicane. Gasly ahead of Hulkenberg. Left-hand side of your picture, Max Verstappen, reigning world champion, all over the back of Charles Leclerc. He's the closest that he's been at this stage.
It feels like it might not be too far off already. Understood. Just the straight to turn 5 is wet.
Piastri saying, think about the crossover. We told you it dried quickly. We didn't expect that. Lap 10, they're thinking of dry tyres. The straight to turn 5 is this part of the circuit, by the way, for our newer fans. Verstappen is able to get close. It's here where he's superior, but it's not easy to pass here.
No, we've seen that with Hamilton fighting behind Gasly. It did take Lewis all of 15 corners to make that opportunity, and that was on Gasly, not the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. There we go, you just see the drier line coming through there. No spray coming off the back of Leclerc's car. I still don't think we're at slicks at this point, surely just yet. Here comes Verstappen.
He's got a chance to try and go around the outside of Poor corner. Incredible speed. Nothing between them, less than an inch. They were fighting their way through there, and he was looking for an epic move. We saw a few of those earlier on in Formula 2. Much harder to do it in Formula 1.
Leclerc's chewing through his rear tyres, though. He is also fighting the car a lot. Verstappen with a slide coming out of the Fagnes chicane as well. But Leclerc on the last lap was 2.5 seconds down on Piastri. That gap has just gone out. 7.5 seconds now between second and third. And that's why Verstappen has to get this one done, because the McLarens will have an easy run when we do get to the pit stop phase, which is nearing as the track dries out.
Race lead and the battle for it is on the left-hand side. Norris chasing Piastri, and this was always going to be the risk. If you prioritise straight line speed yesterday, it means that you're going to rely on the grip of those rear tyres more, and Verstappen will be desperate to make the move on this lap, and Leclerc knows it, checking the mirrors into the first turn of the racetrack, the hairpin of La Source.
He's got no traction. This will be it for Verstappen on a traction race.
And this is going to be the side-by-side comparison, and he had to deviate away from the drying line. It cost him the momentum. He tucks back in as we go through. Eau Rouge, listen in. Unbelievable commitment there, and now his best chance in the Grand Prix so far to fire his way past the Ferrari. Max Verstappen wants to race the two McLarens, but he still can't get past the man who out-qualified him yesterday.
Oh, the frustration. It's another 2 seconds they've lost on the last lap.
I don't know if it's the downforce, but my God, my tire's not gone.
And yet he still managed to cling on out of La Source. He managed to square the car off whilst Max was on the wetter part and still turning through there. And the straighter you get the steering wheel, the better you get the traction down. And even on those shod rears, Charles manages to cling on to third. And all the while, Max is now damaging his tyres as well.
He's not the only one. Esteban Ocon, also high-speed setup on that Haas. He's just been passed by his teammate Oliver Behrman, who's got a much bigger rear wing on the car, better grip, and Behrman gets past Ocon in the battle of the Haas's. Behrman trying to return to the points today for the first time since the Bahrain Grand Prix. It's been a while. The Bahrain race was the 4th round of the season. This is round 13.
He's had a lot of pace, hasn't he, so far this year? A lot at times. I mean, Silverstone qualifying, he was great. Yesterday, really quick through 2 sectors, but didn't hook up the first sector. Look at the rear tyres on the Ferrari.
Looking very used, if you consider how many racing laps we've had around here. He's chewing through that rubber, he's losing grip. And Verstappen can't force his way by for the moment. The gap between the McLarens and Charles Leclerc, 10 seconds now.
They've got to cling on until it's slick tyres. 12 laps in, the first 4 were under safety car, so we've not done that many at racing speeds, and now if they put on another set of inters, surely they'll just chew through them straight away again.
Lewis Hamilton has had a starring cameo in this Grand Prix. If the call for slick tyres is the right one, he might be about to be the leading man in this one, because if you time this right today and you force the others to jump into the pits, if you get this right, you can transform your race, and that's why he's gambled.
Yeah, he's got an awful lot to do still to get to the front. As Leclerc moves off the racing line, it looked a tidy stop, and it was for Ferrari. So Hamilton goes for the slicks, and he's not the only one.
Gasly, Hülkenberg and Alonso also into the pits. Lawson has got past Isaac Hadjar in the battle of the Racing Bulls. It's still Piastri by 1.6 seconds. They come through here. Now it's all about tyre temperature. Describe for us, Jolien, how difficult this is. Slick tyres, wet track.
The first corner that you find is Eau Rouge. You have to have the confidence to get through there, because if you find a wetter part, you can just be slithering off into the barriers. We saw it at Silverstone last time out. George Russell wanted the slicks at the end, and he went off spinning through Maggots and Beckett. But look here, it's much drier if you can get around to this part of the circuit. And if Hamilton gets this fired up, he will launch himself right up the order.
Hamilton has made it through the Kemmel Straight, through turn 5 at Les Combes. He's made it through. There's no errors there. He's not gone wide. That's the hard bit. Now every part of this circuit will be generating tyre temperature and grip for him as he tries to make use of going to the slick rubber first.
So who wants to follow suit then? They can all see what Hamilton's doing on this outlap. We can't see his middle sector yet, but if he's got it through the first part, it's going to be quick in the middle, so the McLarens are in. The first one, it's Oscar Piastri, the race leader.
Piastri pits. He wants the slick tyre immediately. That is because he took the lead. He got the first call. Race controller telling us it's normal grip conditions. McLaren agree, and they were against this idea about jumping to slicks first. They are responding right now.
So the DRS has enabled this lap as well. So Ferrari are in with Leclerc, Red Bull are in with Verstappen. This will be a straight pit stop fight.
And this is going to mean a lot of waiting in the pit lane. You can't get a penalty for an unsafe release. It's 5 seconds if you chop across another car in a manner like that. Others will continue on the racetrack. All the while, Hamilton will be bringing his tyres into the temperature window.
Slow stop for Verstappen, who had to wait for Alex Albon. Ferrari really risked it with that release for Leclerc, who just couldn't get the power down on his slicks. That was a tight one for an unsafe release, as one of the Haas cars, Ocon, has to continue a la Lando Norris out front. What about Norris's in-lap, and what about Piastri's out-lap now?
It's all about that. It's all about taking the last of the rubber for Lando Norris. It's 20 seconds lost in the pits. The gap between the two McLarens, 19.6 as Piastri fires up those slick tyres.
He should bring that down, though, through the rest of the lap, because definitely the slicks are the way to go. Hamilton looks like he's done a solid job on his outlap. Let's have a look at this release from Leclerc. There's Alex Albon.
Sometimes they're on the side of caution. Alex Albon won't love seeing his face full of Ferrari at that point. And he rejoins. This is Lewis Hamilton going through Eau Rouge on those medium tyres. And let's see, this was him making the pass. Oh, it was close. Now the car ahead had those tyres. That was Lawson that he got by on the same tyres.
He's a lap of knowledge and temperature up the road. He didn't want to go too far off onto the wetter patch. How about this? They've caught Esteban Ocon, and this is Leclerc and Verstappen again.
So they're all close together now.
What about a hard tyre? We try to go to the end. What about a hard? Would you take it now? I need an answer quick.
Hard tyre, try and go to the end is the aim. Charles Leclerc gets past Ocon, and George Russell is very, very close. Look at this, he's nearly 3 wide through Blanchimont. That is not a good idea. You've got the car of Esteban Ocon on the intermediate tyre. Those on the slicks are flying past with way more grip. It's Charles Leclerc in 5th, Max Verstappen in 6th, 7th for Russell. Ocon will come in now as Oscar Piastri takes the lead on the racetrack. Lando Norris is 4.7 seconds back. That's the price of going 1 lap longer.
Yeah, it did not work out. That gap will go out as well as Lando gets up to speed on the slick tyres. But he did go for the hards. The mediums should not go to the end of the race. The hards should. That was the call then. Quick one from Will Joseph. Give us an answer. Lando on a hunch saying, give me the one stop. this is it. Strategy divergence for the win.
There is a big gap in the compounds this week with the Pirelli tyres. The hard tyre is a slow tyre, but it is a very durable tyre. Fastest lap of the Grand Prix belongs to the driver who went first to the slick tyres, Lewis Hamilton.
He's on the back of Albon now, so he's absolutely made this work for him.
This is Lando Norris. Asked about the hard tyres, he got the hard tyres, but it was slow on the front left.
Yeah, that's part of the damage then, that front left. I mean, look at the tyre, it's a slick to medium. He's gone all the way through the grooves, but then it's just not put cleanly on there on the front left, and that has cost him some precious time. So we'll go to the end, but it's a long way still on a slow tyre, and Piastri has a really healthy margin to start that.
8.4 seconds. This all decided because Piastri took the lead.
No hurry here, just keep it on track.
So that will be about bringing the tyre in, not taking too much from the hard in the early laps. It is the most durable of the soft, the medium and the hard, the C1 tyre on Lando Norris's car. And they took that decision because they knew that they had no chance of competing for track position.
Yeah, so they're confident there's no more rain coming for the end of the race then. That's why they've gone for the hard tyre as well. And yeah, they knew the game was up. You can only pit one car. I mean, you can double stack, but it would have cost him too much for absolutely nothing.
It's estimated 5 or 6 seconds if you do that.
Yeah, so you might as well take around that, scrabbling around on an intermediate, and then have one lap fresher tyres at least, and the chance of doing something better than just sitting there idling in the pit lane. Look at Lewis Hamilton now, up into 7th. What a Grand Prix it's been for him so far.
Alex Albon predicted that Lewis Hamilton would come flying through the field. I bet he didn't think it would take about 10 laps. Hamilton got past. We saw the replay of him getting past Liam Lawson. Look at the gap. Lawson, of course, getting the track position, didn't have the tyres up to temperature. When we talk about tyre temperature, that is the illustration of when you get the tyre fired up and working, how much time you can gain. Hamilton looking like the Hamilton of old, back in contention at the sharp end.
Yeah, look who's back in the points again. Nico Hülkenberg up into 9th as well. The experience paying off, tucked in behind Liam Lawson, and he's got himself ahead of Gabriel Bortoletto as well. So we've got a train of cars now. Leclerc and Ferrari have done a great job to hang on in that first stint ahead of Verstappen. Obviously the car in a straight line made it difficult for Max to come through, but you've still got to be so precise. Max said yesterday 15 qualifying laps is what it took to keep the McLarens behind, and the concentration from Charles in that first stint would have been immense to make sure that he just kept the car where he needed it and found the little bit of traction he had left to get off the corners. And Ferrari did a good job in the pits. He stays in 3rd. Verstappen, how close was that as well as they were coming past Esteban Ocon with George Russell and Alex Albon, who's having a flyer.
Hulkenberg up 5 places to 9th position. Hamilton up 11 to 7th place and 0.6 of a second away from Alexander Albon, who is outside of DRS and doesn't have that to try and defend from the 7-time world champion. Fastest middle sector of the Grand Prix so far belongs to the driver in 3rd place. That's Charles Leclerc.
So fastest lap went to Piastri, then it went to Norris, then it went to Leclerc, and then it went to Verstappen. They just shuffled it down the order on that lap. Crucially though, Piastri's not gained anything on Norris. So if Oscar's got to do another pit stop, he needs to start building that gap, knowing he can use more of the tyre. It's going to be, in the longer term here. We've still got a fair old way to go, not even at half distance. But if he has to pit again, Lando is in the pound seat with that hard tyre choice. He's the only one that's done it in the entire field though. So it's the outlier that Norris has taken, and the hard still has got some work to do to go to the end, even if there are 2 steps different between the hard and the medium. It's the outlier of the tyre as well.
Oscar Piastri, super brave at the start of the Grand Prix, took the lead by the time that we got to turn 5. Leclerc and Lando Norris, as a result, was not given the preferential strategy. That is always going to go to the race leader. He did an extra lap because he knew he couldn't compete for track position. They put on a more durable tyre, and as a result, he is trying something different with Piastri trying to build a gap. You need 20 seconds to make a pit stop around this circuit.
The clipping on the main straight is shockingly. It's so hard.
Understood.
So derating, harvesting energy at the end of the long straight there for Max Verstappen, and effectively you don't have that energy deployment. 160 horsepower you're missing, and it just feels awful as you start decelerating when you should just be building up the speed, as Hamilton's doing here, towards 200 miles per hour. And he has been sitting behind Leclerc all race, and Leclerc is not going to be any easier to pass in the dry than he was in the wet.
Oliver Behrman was the driver that we jumped on board with there. He's racing Fernando Alonso for 13th position. Behrman trying to score his first points since the 4th round of the season. You're watching round 13 of the Formula One World Championship in 2025. Jolyon Palmer is alongside me, Alex Shakes, and we're enjoying one of the great racetracks on the planet. Not as much as Lewis Hamilton, though, who has gained 11 places and is eyeing up the strengths and weaknesses of Albon, who's having a resurgent weekend in the Williams. They've had their reliability trouble. He's only scored points once in the last 4 races. He's looking at good for major points again today. He did lose 5th position to George Russell in the early stages of the green flag running.
But this is much better from Williams, isn't it? Hanging with the faster cars as they were earlier on in the season. Here's Ollie Behrman up behind Fernando Alonso, who's in a higher downforce Aston Martin.
And he sells the dummy, gets Alonso to defend, and uses the DRS to get ahead. And as he makes the move for 13th, Antonelli improves to 16th.
So Lando, as an update, both cars will try and get to the end. We think the other car might have to do some pace management to make it work. But that's our opportunity.
Okay, plot twist. The mediums might make it. And that is what Piastri is doing. So maybe that's why Oscar's not trying to wring the neck of his race-leading McLaren to build the gap, because he's actually thinking the best way is to not pit again, save the 20 seconds, and keep this on track, which now puts the pressure on Norris to find pace, use the grip he'll have and the durability of the hard tyre to close up and put pressure on Piastri. And he's going to want Oscar's tyres to start falling away before the end of the race then, if they're not going to look for another pit stop.
Well, last year was all about an audacious strategy, staying out on a hard tyre. George Russell stopped on lap 10. He went all the way to the end of the 44 laps and claimed the win. He was then disqualified for being underweight because no one was expecting to do a one-stop. No one expected a one-stop to work. And we are looking potentially at another one, this time from the intermediate tyres. Will the medium be durable enough? Is a defining question for whether Piastri extends his championship lead or Norris closes the gap to 2 points.
It's a long old way to go on the medium tyre. It is the same medium tyre, the same compound they used last year. It's the hard that is a step harder. So Norris should be absolutely fine. I mean, Russell proved what a stint you can do at the end of a hard, as long as they've got the weight on the car at the end of it as well. But I mean, I'm sure everyone's learned from that one. But the medium, that will take a bit of management from Piastri. The gap's still just less than 9 seconds. Norris with the fastest lap on the last lap.
George Russell getting within 0.8 of a second. Lance Stroll gets past Isaac Hadjar. That's the green Aston Martin going past the white Racing Bull, and Stroll is up to 17th position. We're trying to keep you updated on every single move in the field. The top 10 scoring points, 25 for the winner of the Grand Prix. It's 8 for the winner of the sprint, 25 for the winner of the Grand Prix. Lando Norris has the fastest middle sector so far in the Grand Prix. This is a replay of the Canadian driver's move up to 17th.
So, if you're wondering why Isaac Hadjar is all the way down in 18th, having started and run up in the points earlier on, he pitted late, and it's the same lap of pit stop as Norris. The two Racing Bulls are running together, weren't they? And neither of them pitted on that first opportunity. So Lawson then had the Piastri lap pit stop, that was lap 12, and that left Hadjar out to dry, and he's fallen down the order. Same thing for Yuki Tsunoda. Neither Red Bull pitted at the first opportunity, which then left Tsunoda a little bit stuffed. Had the late pit stop, and he's now out of the top 10 as well. Meanwhile, Hülkenberg pitted the same lap as Hamilton. That brought him right up into play, and it allowed Bortoletto to take a good pit stop lap as well and stay in the top 10.
A 7-time world champion and the man who made all the right calls, didn't he? 2 weeks ago at Silverstone, overruling the team on 3 occasions to pit at the right time. He described to you that he was just trying to read the conditions on track, just go with the feel behind the wheel.
He's got a great feel behind the wheel. Less so over one lap at the moment, which he admitted to me. He said, yeah. I'm not feeling the grip necessarily over one lap, but in these wet, dry conditions, in nursing the tyres over multiple laps, it's not necessarily been the strong suit of Nico Hülkenberg all these years, but it is right now.
He's 7-6 down in the teammate head-to-head up against a rookie driver, the 37-year-old from Germany. Looked like we were going to see a move from the Mercedes man there, but we didn't get that at that point. Hadjar dropping down again. That's Carlos Sainz. The strategy's not been kind to him either as we've cycled through. Driver who started at what would have been the pit lane before we had the time behind the safety car started at the back, and he's stayed there. He would have been hoping for the sort of progress that we've seen from Hamilton. They would have all known, the contenders at the back of the field, that there would be an opportunity to make the strategy work. Turns out it was intermediates to slicks.
Nico needs to overtake him, man. If not, let me go.
Okay, we are managing that here.
The man who was in his civvies in Parc Ferme congratulating his teammate. Massive respect between Bortoleto and Hulkenberg until they're running together on track, and then it's like, hoik him out the way, please, guys.
Drivers are such reasonable people until the visor clicks shut, and then it is, of course, ultra competitive. Feather off the throttle there for Sainz. He caught the racing bull too quickly, had to back out of it, and eventually made the move into Les Combes. Fastest lap of the Grand Prix, Lando Norris.
So Hadjar's really not enjoying these dry conditions either, and Hulkenberg's going to get the call. That'll be coming out of Eau Rouge then. Bortoleto will get his wish, and we'll see if he can close up to Lawson. These are important points that Sauber are aiming for, as are Racing Bulls.
This was a good circuit in Formula 2 for Gabriel Bortoleto. He was second here in the main race, the feature race last year, on the way to the title, and he moves past his teammate at the team's instruction. Bortoleto's got to back that up now with some great flying laps to try and bridge the gap to Liam Lawson. This is what it looks like on the Kemmel Straight. A lot of vibration on there, and Kimi Antonelli gets by and claims another position in the Grand Prix. It's 15th now for him. Fernando Alonso, the next car.
Yeah, two drivers really lacking confidence at the moment, Antonelli and Colapinto. Lacking confidence and lacking experience, so it's understandable really. But Mercedes took that car off the grid. It was due to start down in 18th and started in the pit lane, which allowed them to put a little bit more downforce on, which has actually made this overtake harder than it might have been. But in the end, the DRS open here, and Antonelli managed to sweep back towards the dry patch for braking as well. And as you say, he can now focus on the next car ahead.
Antonelli put a great move on Colapinto into Eau Rouge last year. Had to wait until a couple of corners later for that one, but he's gained a position, and we're seeing a flurry of action. Different cars are going to work well in different conditions. The track is an evolving thing here, drying out all the time, with the track temperature at 26 degrees, the air temperature at 17, and no reports of further rain at Spa. Things can change very, very quickly in this part of the world, and not just uniformly on the racetrack. It could be wet in one corner and dry in another. We're looking at Colapinto up against Lance Stroll. Left-hand side of your picture, Oscar Piastri, a 24-year-old from Melbourne, making his 59th Grand Prix start today, trying to extend his championship lead.
I think Hadjar dived into the pits. Yeah, he did, in the back of shot there. So, miserable stint. And I wonder if there's an issue then with his Racing Bulls car, and that's also why he's tumbling down the order quickly. Let's have a look.
Yeah, that's been a really tough stint for him, and they're getting rid of the mediums and putting on the hard tyres. Hadjar's not reported anything on the radio, but for whatever reason, those mediums were just not working with that car. Lance Stroll and Franco Colapinto is the battle we're looking at. This is for 16th position. And there is no close battle at the moment inside the top 10, but wear rates on the medium tyres around this high-speed circuit will be extremely different for different cars.
And Oscar, what you're doing looks good. It's your call really on whether we try and get to the end on this tyre or we consider a pit stop for another one. At the moment, I think try to get to the end.
I could put a little bit of fag already, so I think it will be tough to get to the end.
Let's play strengths and weaknesses of the two strategy choices. And there's no way to know on a track like this, with the rain that we've had, drying surface, there's no way to know whether that medium will hang on. If you try to make it work and it doesn't hang on, the tyre falls away, you're a sitting duck. Lando Norris is going to win the Grand Prix, and there's 2 points between them in the World Championship. If you come in for fresh rubber, you can go on the attack. You know you'll get an attacking chance. But he's been in that situation before around this racetrack, where he was denied by a couple of seconds here last year. Monza as well last year, missed out by a couple of seconds. Which way do you go?
Track position is ever more important, isn't it, at Spa? And we're witnessing that in the fight for third as well, with Leclerc hanging on ahead of Verstappen now, who's dropping away. Piastri's in between that 1 and 2 stop. The gap that was 9 seconds is now 8, so Norris is doing enough just to keep the pressure on without doing too much to take life out of his hard tyres that he'll need if Piastri makes the pit stop. And it is such a fine call, but Oscar needs to kind of think about it now, and that's why Tom Sallard on the radio there is just thinking, you know, we got to lock in for one here, because if you're making another pit stop, you need to find pace right now and use that grip of the tyre.
That's the side of an Aston Martin going past an Alpine. Stroll gets past Colapinto. The Canadian driver is through. He always enjoys mixed conditions, Lance Stroll. Took his pole position in mixed conditions, led a lot of that Turkish Grand Prix before. That was a key change about whether you were going to move on to a new set of intermediates or not. Cost him that day. He's a 3-time podium finisher in Formula 1.
If Piastri wants to go to the end of the race, he doesn't want to push on now, because he'll have to look after it, especially if he's already reporting a little bit of drag. But as he comes through, he does a 1:46.3 and does the new fastest lap of the race, just extending the gap by 1/10 of a second, but he's clearly still leaning on that tyre, taking life out of it. And if he has to make another pit stop, he's going to first of all have to reel in Lando out front to the tune of around 10 seconds, you'd have thought still, and then he'll have to pass him. And as we saw last year with George Russell being in the lead on a hard tyre that still had life at the end of the race, it's not easy to do that. So I think Norris is in a decent position.
Norris continuing with good pace. At the moment, Piastri only has 16 seconds over Charles Leclerc, so he'll want to build that to over 20 if he was to make a stop. He only wants to pass one car. If he has to pass any cars, that was his feedback at that moment. We'll keep you updated. It's Carlos Sainz, different car, but reports that medium tyre is degrading quickly. Let's go on board with the 4-time Grand Prix winner.
This might be some brilliant quick thinking for Lando Norris and crew if they have found the winning shot. And look, they are still the only team to have gone for that hard. Hadjar now has, having gone through those mediums, and he was reporting just massive understeer. He just killed the front tyre. The setup change from inters to slicks, you've got to try and get it right and crank on some front wing. Otherwise, you do just grain up the fronts. And Hadjar and Racing Bull's obviously not getting that one right. And it's just absolutely nailed them. And that's why he's taken the next pit stop, we think.
Beyond half distance for the 44 laps, we had a delay of 90 minutes before we went racing for the Belgian Grand Prix. But the reward for the fans around this circuit and you watching at home is a race that is in the balance between the top two drivers in the World Championship. Max Verstappen be able to give us a very detailed drawing of the rear end of that Ferrari by the end of the Grand Prix. He is stuck there. I think that's why he was celebrating the sprint win as ferociously as he did yesterday, because at the moment he's not even been able to shape for a move. Natalie Hubert, Antoine Hubert's mother, has been with the Gasly family all weekend. Her dignity and grace in the face of what happened years ago, something else. And she was here with the Gasly family, paying tribute to her son, who passed away after an accident here in 2019. In 2025, Oscar Piastri leads the Belgian Grand Prix by 8 seconds, but is he on the right tyre? It is the defining call of the Grand Prix. The McLaren's in a great position. The team expected that. I have to say, speaking to Andrea Stella in the paddock before this one started, he did not expect it to get this dry this quickly. So the invention of the strategic call is something that I don't think they had hugely planned at McLaren. We'll find out after the race whether that was the case. But at the moment, Lando Norris is posing a question to Piastri, who has to make this decision once he clears 20 seconds for Charles Leclerc. But at the moment, he's not pushing at all. So are they thinking, stay where you are, push to the end?
It's wild, isn't it? McLaren were thinking this was going to be a wet race that would stay wet. And yet, this probably won't even really be remembered as a wet race in the end. We've had so much of this already on slick tyres. Just 11 laps necessary on an intermediate. And yeah, we have had such a lengthy delay as well, an hour and 20 minutes for it to dry up. And now here we are with everyone on slicks at half distance, looking to see whether it's going to be another set of slicks before the end of the race.
So the battle for 11th, Pierre Gasly, the driver you're on board with, Yuki Tsunoda, Oliver Behrman and Fernando Alonso. We're in a DRS train where the car ahead might not be the very fastest, but the car behind can't pass, and that doesn't give an opportunity to the two behind. made that 3 behind, with Kimi Antonelli joining this battle as it's Gasly, Tsunoda, Behrman, Alonso and Antonelli separated by hardly anything across the line. 2 seconds from 11th to 15th. They're all in your picture at the moment. Lando Norris has the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Last time around, he was 2 tenths faster than Oscar Piastri out front.
The gap's still 8 seconds though, so they've just been trading blows. Norris is keeping Piastri honest. At some point, he's going to have to start reeling that in and try and deter Piastri from hanging it on that medium tyre. The longer he goes, the more he'll think, actually, the end's in sight. Maybe I'll stay on it. Will he have anything left when he gets there? Of course, the same question that Piastri has, everyone else in the field will have, and there might yet be strategy ramifications for the podium place. Leclerc, Verstappen, and Russell just dropping away from that bunch, really, isn't he? But still, not out of the question mark if there's going to be another pit stop.
Fastest middle sector of the Grand Prix so far for Lando Norris, beginning to apply the pressure. It's finally in the balance at the front. Gasly just trying to pick his line. We did see last year that you have to be significantly quicker than the car ahead to go for a move. The best overtaking opportunity on the racetrack is Lecombe at turn 5, which is where the last car on the road, Isaac Hadjar, is. And despite the mixed conditions, all cars still running for this one. That is going to see, as it stands, Oscar Piastri extend his lead in the championship to 16 points, but the swing could be dramatic and take it down to 2. It's in the balance for the Belgian Grand Prix, and Charles Leclerc working on what would be a very satisfying podium. It's 2.3 seconds. Those in the mid-pack will be looking for a gap. If maybe they wanted to stop, take on new rubber and attack again. We're on board nose cam with Kimi Antonelli, who is in his rookie season of Formula One. Had a podium so far, but that is his only point score in the last 6 Grand Prix.
Frustrating for all of this bunch. Stuck in behind Pierre Gasly in 11th place, but Gasly's dropping away from the 2 Saubers as well. And if you're Gasly at the moment, you're doing your best, you're getting your elbows out, keeping your friend Yuki Tsunoda behind, and Yuki will be even more frustrated having run up in 7th place at the start of this one. And Pierre's got to hope that something comes towards him and a point for Alpine. You can hear the revs rise as Antonelli gets on the DRS, but so does Alonso, so does Behrman, so does Tsunoda, and that's what a DRS train is.
Antonelli had the fastest first sector of anyone so far because he was getting a 4-car tow on his way to turn 5.
Norris loses a second in the middle sector. The gap though was 8 seconds, it goes to 9 seconds, so Lando was pressing on. The lap before he had done the fastest middle sector of the Grand Prix. This time the gap goes out as he makes a mistake, so as Piastri crosses the line for another lap of serious consistency, as best as a 46.3, he's churning out 46.4s at the moment. Norris will come through on a 47.6, so he's lost 1.2 seconds on that lap.
Somewhere between turn 5 and turn 14, Lando Norris has had a moment.
Pouon.
And it was always going to be Pouon, wasn't it? He's going to go wide at Pouon corner. We'll dig out the replay for you, but it's cost him time. Now he's got to re-establish himself and go again, having had that wide moment. And it might be dry on the racing line. Look at the left-hand side there as we make our way to Lecombe. It is not consistently dry around this circuit yet.
Right, it makes it difficult to overtake as well when you have to go over wetter parts. It's still impossible on the Kemmel Straight, but I'll tell you what, you don't normally have a small moment at Pouon, particularly when there's moisture off the racing line, so I wonder what did happen for him.
This is the corner in question where we believe Lando Norris went off on the last lap. Just a wide moment, nothing major, but enough to cost him momentum trying to close the gap to Piastri. You get the feeling that will be immediately relayed. That's the corner where we think he had an issue 1 tour ago on lap 27 of 44.
I think Piastri's got to go to the end. I think he's 17 laps to go. Norris isn't making any inroads right now. He's just lost that 1.2 seconds on the last tour.
There's a nice pass for Kimi Antonelli. He's been working on this one for a while. He gets past Fernando Alonso. Mercedes past the Aston Martin, and he is able to break past a car in the train.
Yeah, Aston Martin cranked on the wing yesterday, thinking it was going to be wet. They were right, but it wasn't wet for long enough, and now they're going backwards. And they were locking out the back row of the grid before they peeled Fernando into the pit lane with Antonelli for the start.
This is on board with Kimi Antonelli. We're showing every bump of that Kemmel Straight with that camera. Fantastic impression of speed, and 14th position secured for the driver who started P19.
So another quick lap for Piastri. He's actually just nudged down his best by half a tenth, another metronomically good one. And Norris has matched him, or he's 1/10 down. The gap stays at 9.2 seconds. So 16 laps to go. There's a lot for Oscar to do if he's going to pit and come back and chase Lando down. If he's going to pit, he's going to emerge with Verstappen as well. So I think he's got to just cling on to these mediums, which at this rate will be the modus operandi for all.
2 laps, we're going to see Lewis Hamilton and Alex Albon. This is a brilliant angle of the Ferrari climbing the hill. Haven't seen that one before. Cameras all over the cars, and that is a huge elevation change. But Alex Albon, last time around, did an identical lap time to George Russell ahead, but Hamilton was slightly faster. And Sainz has been shown the black and white flag for driving standards and track limits. If he goes beyond the white lines of the racetrack one more time, it's a 5-second penalty for the Williams driver.
He's pitted as well on the last lap. So that's Eau Rouge, the same place as Hamilton got pinged for yesterday. And Sainz has just got to check that. Williams just needs to tell him on the radio, and then he'll correct that line. You're pointing so far uphill, it's kind of just a sixth sense of where you're going. Just muscle memory, really, rather than actually looking at the white line as you're facing the sky at Eau Rouge. The incline is that steep. And yeah, Sainz can just correct that. He's taken the hard tyres now, and he was the one that came on the radio and said the deg on the medium is really high. We're not seeing such drop-off from others. Piastri another lap in 1:46.4. This time Norris is quicker by half a second with the fastest lap of the race. So is this now Lando getting back in the groove and applying the pressure he's going to have to do if he's going to make a fight out of this? Charles Leclerc's done his personal best though on the medium, so they are clinging on for now.
So Norris re-establishes himself. Lando Norris took his 4th pole position of the season yesterday. He is searching for win number 9 in his Formula One career, and his 5th of the season. That's the total that Oscar Piastri has managed. It would be a real change in fortunes if Norris can rattle off 3 wins in a row. It would leave them separated by 2 points heading into round 14 of the championship next week in Budapest, a track where Lando Norris has always shown great pace no matter what competitive class of McLaren he has been driving. Norris has never finished on the podium for this Grand Prix. Piastri was very close to the win 1 year ago. He has the lead of 8.6 seconds as Norris tries to find clean laps and eventually take him into DRS range of his teammate. Once again, looks like this one's going to go all the way to the end of the Belgian Grand Prix.
Yeah, Norris has got carte blanche here just to fire it up as much as he can and get that lap time down and get the gap down to Piastri. Piastri's got to go quickly, but he's got to think about the tyres in the back of his mind as well and dance that edge a little bit more of pace versus consistency on his lap times. Norris is finding a little bit more on this lap, and they're about to come past us once again, with Piastri finding another 1/10 of a second. Norris 8.6 seconds behind, finding just a couple of tenths on Oscar. It's not enough.
Lando Norris lost a second a couple of laps ago. Has re-established the gap at around 8 seconds. And we're looking at the battle between Yuki Tsunoda and Oliver Behrman. Behrman in his first full season of Formula One, part of the Ferrari Academy as a junior, and won a place with the Haas team because of that connection. Had a lot of FP1s for them, and he convinced the team led by Komatsu to hire him, and he part of a new lineup for this year for the American team, smallest in terms of the employee headcount in Formula One. Esteban Ocon and Ollie Behrman have been enjoying some great moments. Ocon's been doing the majority of the points. He's in the top 10, and Behrman looking for his 4th point scoring finish of the season today, but he's currently in 13th. Fernando Alonso's come to the pits. He's getting new rubber. There we go. The Aston Martin man hits his marks. I have a feeling he won't be giving long, detailed answers after the race. He'll want to get to one of his favourite circuits, Budapest, where he took his first ever Formula One win back in 2003. Fernando Alonso, the most experienced driver in Formula One history, a man who turns 44 years of age on Tuesday. So we predicted this battle between Alex Albon and Lewis Hamilton. That's what we're seeing on track at the moment. This is the Fagnes chicane, high-speed chicane, carrying a lot of speed through. Alex Albon looking for good points. This would be a big moment for Williams, who have suffered with reliability issues and the fact that the pack have caught them up. To be honest, Sauber have been resurgent in recent times. Hamilton has looked strong. Now, we've been waiting to show you this moment. Pouhon corner, Lando Norris, lap 26. Backed out of it, was super cautious and rejoined the racetrack. It cost him a second.
Yeah, well, he did the right thing there, just to bail out, take a couple of downshifts, slow it down, rather than try and keep his foot in with a loaded G on a more slippery part of the circuit. So he saved himself for another day, but it did cost him that 1.3 seconds in the middle part of the lap, 1.2 at the end of it. So he's had that momentum, he lost it, and now he's getting it back again with another fastest lap of the race. 0.3 quicker than Oscar on the last lap, 13 laps to go. He's not put Piastri under enough pressure though, still over 8 seconds that Oscar has.
Okay, Kimi Antonelli's heading to the pit lane. You can see the Mercedes veering to the pit lane. There you go, it's on the left-hand side of your graphic, and he goes for new tyres as well. Should Oscar Piastri have gone for new tyres? 8.4. A battle where nothing is happening and then it's going to come alive if Lando Norris has made the right call. If he's on the durable tyre and the medium fades away in the hands of the cars further back without the balance, it's not lasting. Can Piastri make it work and take another win this year? It would be his 6th win of the season.
These guys that are pitting are out of the points. They've got nothing to lose, so they'll give it a go on fresher tyres and see if that'll give them more impetus to go and catch. It's the Gasly train, really, isn't it? 11th place, still holding back Tsunoda and Behrman. And that's battle rejoined between Alonso and Antonelli, but Mercedes holding off the Aston Martin at that stage. You have to assume Norris is giving it everything he's got on the hard tyre that will get to the end of the race. So then it's just a question of whether Piastri's tyres will drop off. But at the moment, he's just staying very, very consistent with his times. And Norris just gained 1/10 on the last lap. Leclerc is still just nudging down his personal best as well. So the mediums, they are hanging on.
This is on board with two-time world champion Fernando Alonso. He came in and took the new rubber. He scored in the last 4 consecutive Grand Prix, having not scored in any of the first 8 so far of the 2025 season. You see Lando Norris has the fastest lap as it stands. He's going to need more of a time swing. The gap is 8.1 seconds. As you look at the pit stops, and you can see that Antonelli leads the train of cars that have made 2 stops in the race so far. Behrman is now looking at Yuki Tsunoda. You can see it's very, very tight between the two of them. If you add it all up, only 0.07 of a second behind. Tsunoda's trying to get past his old teammate and good friend in Formula 1, Pierre Gasly. Very sporting stuff, wasn't it, when he was off to the stewards after sprint qualifying, and he said, no, I wasn't impeded by Gasly. No point in arguing that one. No penalty required. He's been facing the back of the Alpine all the way through. Alpine, for some context, 10th in the Constructors' Championship heading into this race.
They'd love just a solitary point. Something to take out of this for Alpine would be great. Gasly was due to start 8th in that sprint, wasn't he? But he had to be wheeled to the pit lane and lose a couple of laps with an issue on the grid. So they lost a good chance in the race yesterday morning. Just getting that point would be something for the team that is, as you say, right at the back of the field. He's only scored in 3 races this year so far. Had a 6th place last time out at Silverstone. Gasly was absolutely over the moon with it. When I think he definitely considers himself to be in the weakest car this year. His teammates between Doohan and Colapinto, the only drivers to not score points. Gasly's managing to get that car routinely into the midfield, but the points is another ask, and right now he's in 11th, and we just love something to unfold ahead.
The last time around, Lando Norris did a 1:45.9. It was a 1:46.3 for Oscar Piastri. The medium tyre is degrading. We can see that from the tyre marbles, discarded balls of rubber on the outside of Blanchimont corner. And one of the drivers really struggling is the man ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Alex Albon has been reporting to the team that his tyres are done. That's usually Lewis Hamilton's line, but at the moment he's closing in, and that's the closest he's been since he left the pits.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen Hamilton on the prowl. Did so many of those early overtakes on the inters. had the initiative. He was the first driver to pit for the slicks. Let a few in on lap 11. One of them was Nico Hulkenberg, who jumped up the order, and Hulkenberg has gone for another set of mediums then to go to the end. So that will put Gasly in 10th, and Sauber are rolling the dice, thinking the medium won't last until the end.
Deg looked as expected. We still think the best thing is to go to the end on this tyre.
Okay, I'm happy with that.
Piastri backs the team. He believes he can get that medium tyre to the end of the race, task number 1, and he believes that he can keep Lando Norris behind him. That's task number 2.
Well, I'm surprised that Sauber have pitted Hulkenberg. It's for 10th, but he was under no pressure with Gasly holding back the rest of the field. But they obviously felt like their medium tyres might be about to drop away before the end. He's had to cover off Antonelli and Alonso, who were a good chunk further back. So that's what they've done, and that has put Gasly now up into that 10th position. If the same were to happen at the front and Piastri's tyres were to fall away, that's what Lando Norris needs to make a race out of this.
Talking of making a race out of it, another element that could change things is about to come the way of Piastri. He's getting closer and closer to having to lap cars. So Piastri is currently at turn 8. Isaac Hadjar is making his way to turn 10. He's the first of the runners that will have to move over when he gets the blue flags.
It's easier to lap cars around this circuit than it has been at others. Remember Austria, when Piastri was on the grass, almost bundled off by Colapinto. Albon had a big old slide coming out of La Source. He is definitely getting through the rears. This circuit can punish the front tyres as well, but Hamilton wasn't close enough.
Ocon, Hulkenberg and Antonelli are glued together coming into the bus stop. They're separated by just over 0.7 of a second as they come across the line. They're battling. That's how hard Lando Norris is pushing. You can see what it cost him.
Well, it must have cost him all in the run up the hill. He managed to still get it turned in for an apex.
Here's the battle I was telling you about. Yeah, they're still glued together. From the bus stop all the way to Eau Rouge and Radion and the Kemmel Straight. And now Hulkenberg will pull out of the slipstream and get 14th position. That one's been coming for a while. He pulls in, takes the place, and he gets by. Antonelli will try to do the same.
He's got to get these moves done quickly and charge up to the rest of the pack behind Gasly. That's Hulkenberg's job now for the rest of the race. And he's got 15 seconds to make up to get there in 9 laps. So it's got to be a pretty mighty effort, and he's going to need the other medium tyres to really fall away. Which is basically what's happening to Ocon here, which is why they're being held up behind him. Antonelli's going to face the same issue.
So this is a high-speed circuit, but it requires you, once you get close, to try and avoid the dirty air. But the dirty air from the car in front has got worse in recent years.
Now, these tyres are getting tricky. You need to keep the focus. Don't push the braking as hard as we have been. You're naturally quicker.
Feedback to the driver that we've just seen lock up at La Source, the turn 1 hairpin. That cost Lando all the way up the hill. And it is a long run. It's 2 kilometres, and you just take that loss. So he locked up on the way in. He's later to throttle then, and it's flat out through Eau Rouge. So the gap went back up to that 8 seconds that has been the average gap, ebbing and flowing around for Norris so far. And with every lap that ticks away, you just feel that Piastri's got this one in hand. The medium tyre's still hanging on. Piastri's still putting in the metronomic laps, and Norris is having to dig deep, just getting the information there from his race engineer, just saying, don't overcook the braking. We need to keep these tyres in the right window. And as you run out of rubber, you can sometimes actually just drop them away from temperature as well. And there, Lando just overcooking it on the braking. So just run the speed through, and he's bringing the gap back down on this lap. He needs to be error-free for the rest of the race, he feels.
Another pass heading into Les Combes. This time it's going to be Kimi Antonelli trying to go around the outsides. That's a tidy move for the man who's been struggling recently, but Ocon saw it coming, positions the car well, and Ocon gets him back. He retakes P15.
Nice bit of racing from Ocon. It was a good attempt from Antonelli, who has put on a bit more wing in the Mercedes, so the moves aren't slam dunk for him. Had to really work it on the brakes. It looked good, but Ocon, as you say, saw it coming. A bit more experience, managed to play it back through for the next couple of corners.
Incredible speed being scrubbed off. We go up to 200 miles an hour, try and keep it on the road, and Ocon sweeps by.
It's wetter out wide as well, so if he can't find that racing line, you find a lack of grip. So he just hoiked it over the curb, and Ocon managed to save himself for another lap.
Talking of another lap, but Lewis Hamilton is getting closer and closer to Alex Albon. At one point it was 0.3 of a second by the end of the Kemmel Straight. They're on the Kemmel Straight again. Hamilton just can't find a way past the Williams, despite the fact he's had DRS, despite the fact he's been within DRS for a long time now.
Frustrating for Hamilton. Again, running that a little bit more wing on his car. Had the chance to start from the pit lane, it would be the obvious thing to do, and it gave him a lot of speed on the inters. We saw him charging past people in the middle sector, but he hasn't got the straight line speed over Albon, even on the with the DRS.
Yuki Tsunoda has been on the radio asking the team to do something, because he's like, no points this way, it's not happening unless you give me new rubber. And then Hülkenberg got out of the way, and suddenly Tsunoda knows that it's a pass at Les Combes at turn 5 at the corner of the racetrack we're heading to, with the battle in your picture at the moment. Tsunoda trying to return to the points for the first time since Imola.
The gap at the front goes less than 7 seconds suddenly. Norris has just taken 2 chunks of slightly more than half a second on Piastri. Piastri's lap's falling away as much as Norris is getting back to his best flying laps of the race so far. So is this the first sign that the mediums on the race leader are starting to drop? It's not by enough at the moment. Half a second lap is not enough for Norris, but he needs to just keep the pressure on, because once they start to go, normally it does just get worse and worse.
And Max Verstappen is getting closer and closer to DRS up against Charles Leclerc. That gap has come down from 2.5 to 1.3. This is Lewis Hamilton, who was the winner of this Grand Prix 1 year ago. Got a bit of tape coming off the back of that rear wing. Could be slowing him down, but not ideal. That is Eau Rouge. They're climbing the hill. A magnificent grandstand. They made some alterations to the circuit in recent times to go past the thousands on the hill that had to wait 90 minutes for this Grand Prix to get underway. They've seen plenty of overtaking into this corner so far. The key move at the very start of the race, when Piastri, we talked about the risk, we talked about the reward, he went brave, he stayed close, he got the lead, and the lead has remained his. But 6.4, how close can Lando Norris get? Can he make it another inter-team battle for the win on the last lap in Belgium, like we had last year?
He is building the pace at the moment. Personal best first and second sector for Norris. Piastri just dropping away. Norris knows that this is it. It's all or nothing for 7 laps, and then just hope that the hard tyre is the right choice. It was the sensible choice for him, given the option at the time. On the medium, you're like for like, you've lost the optimum strategy, you're behind your teammate, so do something different. And on the last lap, he's 7/10 quicker than Piastri. We're getting close to a window of them coming towards each other for the end of the race.
And every corner is so important. And it then turns in to a moment like Pouhon or a moment like La Source. Turn 10, turn 1, any wide moment, and that could be it for Lando Norris's charge. But if the same thing happens to Piastri, then suddenly Norris would veer onto the Kemmel Straight, and when you can see the car ahead, the driver, his spirits lift, and suddenly he knows he's in a fight. This is defining stuff. We know that the McLaren drivers are going to take home the largest trophies by the end of the year, but it's turning second places into wins at the end that defines who is going to be our world champion. And Norris, this would be a huge story if he could get it, would be a real satisfying victory for Piastri if he's able to make the move on his teammate and nurse the mediums to the end. Whoever's second today is going to be so downbeat.
Absolutely, I've got the pleasure of talking to them in a minute as well at the end of this one.
Lucky you, Joe. Enjoy that.
One of them will be delighted, the other one will not, and that is how a championship battle goes, particularly when they're in the same team. This is small differences in the championship. You get swings either way. Austria went towards Norris. Piastri had a moment where he led the race and then had to settle for second.
Verstappen 1.2.
Leave me alone, please. I can have great information, and then when he's getting close, I have too much information. Keep it constant, don't worry.
1.2 because we just saw Leclerc have a lock-up at the final corner. So the right front lock-up, the tyre starting to go away. The right front is the one you're really leaning on through Pouhon and starting to go, but he's keeping Max outside of DRS range. We know the Ferrari's quicker on a straight line as well, so Charles very much just focusing on himself at the moment. The gap at the front, 5.5 seconds. Lando doing his best lap of the race, but Oscar's holding that pace firm. It's tight, it's tight.
It's about the ability of the driver in the lead to nurse the medium tyres to the end. It's about Norris going all in on the most durable tyre. He lost the lead at the start. He was forced into this corner. It would be huge for Lando Norris. He's got some great wins in Formula One, 8 of them to be exact. He hasn't had a late pass for the lead on a rival like he would have if he can win this one, and that could be defining when the margins make a difference between teammates. One moment can change everything, but he doesn't have the pace advantage at this stage. Piastri will be taking the tread off those slick tyres, wearing the rubber down and down and down. The racing line is still the driest part of the circuit. There are still wet parts. If you go beyond, one wide moment could change everything. This is on board with Ollie Behrman. He's been hoping for this opportunity for a long time. This is what 0.3 of a second looks like at 214 miles per hour. No way by, because Tsunoda still has DRS on Gasly.
He had a downforce for the rain. I thought it was going to work for him, but not when the track dried out as quickly as this, and you could just see that there was absolutely no gain on the straight there for Behrman.
Now, I know you're going to go down to Parc Fermé in a few moments, Julian, but it's got very dark out there all of a sudden. I mean, it really has got very dark from the cloud cover. So, yeah, you can borrow the coat and send yourself downstairs. It's 4.7 seconds between Piastri and Norris. It's 1.2 seconds for the final step on the podium. Stay with this one. I know it's been an epic, but it might have a cinematic conclusion to the end of the Belgian Grand Prix. Personal best in the third sector of the racetrack for Lando Norris. The gap is now 4.6 between the two of them out front. This is Kimi Antonelli hustling Esteban Ocon, who he got by for one corner a couple of laps ago.
There's a lot of frustration going on in terms of the racecraft out there. So many drivers examining the back of a rival car, and Antonelli is now one of them behind Ocon, who hasn't taken the pit stop, so the fresh tyres Antonelli's not able to use. Meanwhile, Norris will start to see himself catching the car ahead. It just gives you that little bit more motivation. You think, there he is, come on, a little bit quicker, corner after corner.
Norris in the middle, here's Hadjar.
There is sales of rain developing around the track, currently clear, we're monitoring.
It is darker out there, but the forecast says there'll be no more rain. Lando Norris caught Hadjar in the middle sector where there's no obvious way by. Hadjar has been given 4 blue wave flags and is still ahead of Lando Norris, who should clear and lap him into the chicane, into the bus stop at the end of the lap, and he does so. So the gap is 4.4. I wonder if that could have come down more if he'd not caught that car in the middle sector.
He gained nothing in the middle sector this time around, so 4.4, 4 laps to go. It's going to be close. It's going to be close. But if Piastri just can keep this pace, he may well just hang on.
And that's the only lapped car we expect to come into the picture. So Colapinto is way too far up the road. I don't think they'll catch him. So that has hurt Norris, who needs a big lap by way of response now. He's going to take this one as a battle for the win to the last lap. It's lap 41 of 44. Well, this one is really in the balance, and we've found ourselves with Gasly holding Tsunoda at bay for the final point. Bortoletto looking for another point score. He's only got one in Formula One. That was back in Austria a couple of races ago. We're looking at the closest battle on track. This isn't for points. Ocon not having the car set up for these conditions. He wanted it to all be about straight line speed, and that's how he's keeping the Mercedes at bay. Antonelli, Alonso, they just want to get to Budapest. That will be the aim for them. 3.8 seconds is the gap. On the left-hand side of your picture, the leading pair. Last time around, Lando Norris, 0.3 of a second faster. He will want more than that. He will need more than that. The medium tyres of Piastri degrading. The hard tyre is one that Norris has been pushing on. He had a lock-up at turn 1. Before that, he had a lock-up at turn 10. Those moments at La Source and Pouhon corner might mean that he finds himself just too far off the back. But it is so hard to push one of these beautiful cars to the limit without any error, and yet that is the standard that Piastri is challenging Norris to reach as Norris rotates the car through La Source. Lap 42 of 44. We didn't expect it to be fully dry by the end. Many expected the track to remain intermediate for a long time. Listen to this. Giving it everything through Eau Rouge and Radion, Oscar Piastri, and then the man who can now see his teammate ever closer, Lando Norris.
Weather update. Could be a few drops in turn 1 in the last couple of laps. Not currently expecting it, but not impossible.
So Oscar Piastri being told there could be a change. That is Tom Stallard, former Olympic silver medalist, trying to win gold when it comes to the Drivers' World Championship, and his driver. He's the one that we hear on the radio all the time when it comes to the communication. It was Will Joseph on the radio to Lando Norris earlier in the race. Do you want the hard tyre, or do you want to race your teammate on the medium? Lando Norris knew he was going to be 5 seconds back minimum when he came out of the pit lane. In the end, it shaped up to be about 8. It went up to 9. He's whittled it away to 3. That is the current state of play. Charles Leclerc is looking in his left mirror and looking in his right mirror because Max Verstappen is right there. Verstappen will charge the car to have all the energy deployment on the last lap as well. The podium positions far from set as Piastri, who adores this racetrack. He lists it as number 1 anywhere on earth. He won't be enjoying these laps though. He's being put under pressure. How much pressure? As we go on to the penultimate tour, Piastri, who leads the championship by 9 points, trying to score win number 6 of the World Championship, and that was not the best rotation, and that could be the moment that the Grand Prix is decided. Lando Norris sees the gap move back up to 4 seconds. He was working so hard, you could see he collected a little bit of tyre marbles as well into the first turn where he had an incident before. And are we going to see the second race of the weekend decided by a move on the first racing lap? It was Verstappen for the sprint. Piastri, who has looked extraordinary at certain parts of the weekend, was so determined, was prepared to risk it, got the race lead, therefore got the strategy call, and there's a Formula One legend ready to wave the checkered flag. Jackie Ickx's World Championship running-up car of 1970 is being displayed in the paddock here. He is the man with the checkered flag, and Norris knows that that moment has decided it. He had so much momentum, pushing to the limit. Would it be Piastri? Would it be Lando Norris who cracked first? The degraded medium tyres for Piastri put him under huge pressure, but deep into La Source on the penultimate lap means Piastri will go and see the left mirror, see the right mirror, and witness his teammate further back as a result. Last year, Oscar Piastri was denied at this racetrack by Lewis Hamilton. It wasn't by much, but it was by enough. This year, he goes on to the 44th and last lap in the lead, trying to nurse those medium tyres home. This is the corner that might have decided it last time around. Norris was passed at the start and as a result needed to try and do something different, but Piastri is on his way to win number 6 of the season. Piastri would have been ticking off the moments. The crowd applaud the McLaren man. There's no victory lap here, so this will have to be the celebration for Piastri, who is trying to pick his braking spots all the way to the end. The man from Melbourne trying to claim his first Formula One World Championship. It will be a McLaren driver, and he will re-establish his championship lead back up, having been under pressure. It was 8 points at the start of the weekend. He scored an extra point in the sprint by beating his teammate. It will go up to 16 by the close of play, and Piastri is soaking in the adulation of the crowd. It's 4.3 miles, and he will be so relieved. Norris brought the pressure in the last 2 Grand Prix. A brilliant battle between these two in Austria favoured Lando Norris at the flag. Then it swung towards Oscar Piastri at Silverstone. That appeared to ignite a fire when we saw Piastri attacking this racetrack earlier in the weekend. But he missed out on pole position. He raced at the start of the green flag running with a real intent. And Oscar Piastri is nearly home. 2 corners to go for the Australian driver, who when he comes out of turn 19 will look up and see the checkered flag first. Oscar Piastri wins the Belgian Grand Prix. He beats his teammate to the win by 3.4 seconds. Win number 6 of the season and championship lead extended for Oscar Piastri as Charles Leclerc has kept Max Verstappen at bay. He was deep into the final chicane, but the gap is enough. It's Charles Leclerc who completes the podium. He denied Verstappen by 1.5 seconds. McLaren celebrate a 13th win at Spa, and it's a 1-2 as well. Their first triumph here since Jenson Button in 2012. Oscar Piastri got the job done on the first racing lap. Brave into Eau Rouge. He took the lead then, he never lost it. He took those degrading medium tyres to the end, and he punches the air as the winner.
Great afternoon, really good.
Let's go.
Really good job, mate, really good.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
Well, that will be a drive of real satisfaction. Lando Norris, second place, will represent a first podium at the Belgian Grand Prix. But when you start on pole, anything else other than the win is a tough moment. And in the battle to be the 35th Formula One World Champion, it's a re-established lead in the points for Piastri, who once again puts right what happened in 2024, where in the end he was denied by Lewis Hamilton. Across the line, they were separated by 0.6 of a second. Today, he's won it by 3.4, and he will take home the largest trophy. A straight fight, a degrading tyre, and a hug from the boss. Zach Brown says, well done to his Australian driver. And it was a big call originally to drop such an established name in Daniel Ricciardo. But Piastri joined McLaren, has never looked back. A champion of Formula 3 and Formula 2, the championship leader of Formula 1. Asking him to turn around and pose for the photos with the team. And a word for all the team members who were getting soaked out there, delivered the pit stops required. That will be satisfaction for McLaren, who are on their way to retain the Constructors' title, and it won't be long, will it? It will not be long until they can mathematically say that that's the case. Great to see the respect between teammates as well, as Charles Leclerc has secured another podium finish for the season. That's 5 for the campaign, the same as Max Verstappen now after that result. And he adds it to his all-time tally, which stands at 48. Driver who will be hoping that Ferrari can maximise their setup. He finished 20 seconds off the race lead. Lewis Hamilton, amazing progress earlier on. He has finished as the driver of the day. Would have been the minimum he expected. Speaking to Kimi Antonelli in the rain delay and speaking to him straight after the race, it remained in the dry, pretty difficult to overtake. But Hamilton gaining 11 places there, finishing in 7th. Hamilton, Verstappen beginning the debrief. Verstappen without the car that he's had previously, but without the moment we saw yesterday how much he celebrated the sprint win. Understandable. And Piastri leaves with what looked likely at some points. Piastri had to deal with Lando Norris taking pole position. This was across the line. No, this was the moment that decided it. Oh, it's only a minor lockup, but there you go, wide onto the curb. A second lost, momentum interrupted. You just seen him switch the strap mode, looking for all the performance possible, and that looks so innocuous, but that was momentum interrupted. He also had some pickup on the tyres, some discarded rubber that he ran over, and that decided things. The end of the charge. And Jolien has made his way to the commentary box to speak to our top 3.
Charles, fantastic drive to get Ferrari back to a podium.
I'm guessing with the car that you had today, you were thinking the rain might not suit you and you had to really work in that first stint. How was it with Max behind on the inters?
Max was behind the whole race within 2 seconds, so it's never easy. I knew that the first part of the race was the trickiest one for us because we maybe didn't have the downforce that the McLaren or that Max had, as they compromised a little bit the qualifying to be better in the rain today. But luckily it dried up pretty quickly and then the pace was good. But still, Max was right behind all the whole race. So I'm pretty happy that we managed to keep that third place.
Yeah, you pitted the same lap and the crew did a great job to get you back out ahead of Max again. And then the fight continued. We did see it close up. We had Brian on the radio telling you it was 1.2 seconds suddenly. And you wanted to be left alone in that moment. How is it when you've got Max chasing you, even in the dry there, knowing that a podium here is a great result for Ferrari?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the pressure is high, especially in those conditions, because as soon as you are 10-15 centimeters out the right line, then it's wet or greasy, and then you can lose the line and do a very big mistake. So at one point I just told Brian to leave me alone, but yeah, obviously he's trying to give me the most information. Sometimes I need them. Today I didn't, and I let him know.
And upgrades on the car. Budapest next week, not a sprint race, hoping for a little bit more?
I hope so. I mean, honestly, we've had what we expected with this upgrade, and that's really positive. We need to keep learning about how to maximize this new upgrade. It's still pretty new, but it's a good first weekend, and I'm happy that we are on the podium to thank the whole team back in Maranello. So, but we keep pushing, and hopefully we'll put soon a bit more pressure on the McLarens.
Yeah, great job, brilliant recovery this weekend. Well done, Charles.
Thank you, Rush.
Lando, second place today. Really tricky conditions out there. I mean, we got to start with the start. Intermediate tyres, and just looked like a difficulty to find that grip, and in an instant the lead was gone.
Yeah, I mean, Oscar just did a good job. Nothing more to say. Committed a bit more through Eau Rouge and had the slipstream and got the run. So yeah, nothing to complain of. Did a better job in the beginning, and that was it. Nothing more I could do after that point. So yes, I mean, we'd love to be up top, but Oscar deserved it today.
Yeah, very evenly matched in terms of pace, but you changed the tyre to the hard. Seemed like a really last-minute question that you were asked, and then a sensible choice to take the hard tyre, and then just a flat-out push to see what you could do. You had a good chase. Yeah. Was it possible if you had kept it perfectly clean? I mean, we saw a big moment at Pouhon, La Source.
It's shoulda, woulda, coulda. So I'm not going to, Oscar deserved it. I'm sure he made a couple of mistakes. So if he drove a perfect race, I couldn't have won today. So I'll review my things. But so happy for the team. Another 1-2. I think our first 1-2 here for many, many years. So nice to bring that back to the team. And a well-deserved result for them and for Oscar too.
Yeah, still a great result and a good push. And you've got Budapest next week, which is a circuit I know you love as well. Pole position there last year. You must be looking forward to getting back to it straight away.
Yes. No, Budapest is one of the best ones for me in terms of just what I've done there in the past years, and it's where I started my Formula One career. So yeah, always good memories, and yeah, normally one that suits me a bit better than Spa. So happy with today. Slightly disappointed, but of course looking forward to next week.
Well, you can still go and enjoy the celebrations
Cheers,
today.
mate.
Well done, Lando.
Thank you so much.
Oscar, what a win. Second on the grid, converted immediately to the race lead. That was commitment on the first lap. How was it behind the wheel?
Lively, very lively. No, I knew that lap one was going to be probably my best chance of winning the race, and yeah, I got a good exit out of turn one, and then yeah, lifted as little as I dared through Eau Rouge, and yeah, then it was enough. So the rest of the race we managed really well. I'm struggling a little bit at the end. Maybe the medium wasn't the best for the last 5 or 6 laps, but no, we had it mostly under control, which is what I wanted. And I was pretty disappointed with myself after yesterday, but turns out starting second at Spa is not too bad after all.
Yeah, it's worked out well this weekend. So Eau Rouge in damp conditions, I always thought was so difficult as a driver because the reward is huge, but the risk is also huge. How much had you pre-decided you were going to risk it all to try and take that race lead before the lights went out or the race started?
Once I knew I was close, to be honest, I was a bit disappointed it was a rolling start because I thought that was going to take away some opportunity, but I got a good exit out of turn one, was able to stay close, and then when I was that close, I knew that I was just going to lift a little bit less than Lando did and try and keep it on the track. And yeah, it was a bit lively up over the hill, but no, managed to make it stick, and then from there the toe helped me out. So no, proud of my first lap.
Yeah, it was great to watch. Thereafter, medium tyres. Were you happy with that decision when you were told that Lando had switched to the hard? Still work to do?
I mean, I kind of had the same plan if I was going to be second, so no, I kind of knew that was going to be, you know, a likely decision for him. I think for me, you know, the medium was the safest tyre to be on at that point. You never know if someone's going to crash and there's a safety car, and then at that point you want a medium for the restart. And also the medium seemed pretty good in the sprint yesterday, so yeah, I think it didn't make too much difference. But yeah, you know, when you're fighting like that, 1 and 2, you're always going to try and get an advantage in one way or another, and I think we did the safest thing.
And Budapest, I know it's a good track for Lando, but it was your first win last year, so happy memories to return to very soon.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's going to be exciting to go back. It's a track I enjoy, and yeah, scene of my first win last year, so I'm looking forward to getting back, and hopefully we can continue the momentum, because this weekend the pace has been incredibly strong.
Yeah, go and celebrate first. You deserve it. Well done. Oscar Piastri, the race winner.
Jolyon Palmer in conversation with the top 3. Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, and the winner of the Belgian Grand Prix for the first time in his career, Oscar Piastri, described it as lively behind the wheel. I can understand why. When he was trying to nurse those tyres to the end, that's one of those where it looks simple when it works, and one wide moment could have changed everything. He's signing the champagne, a 6-time Grand Prix winner in 2025, and the leader of the World Championship by a 16-point margin. And he's dedicating that one to his granddad. A lovely touch. Outside my commentary box window, I'm watching the crowd pour onto the circuit. They're making their way in front of the podium that Oscar Piastri will soon stand on the top step of. And both the McLaren drivers have 8 wins apiece. This was it, the first racing lap. Piastri was disappointed. It was a rolling start, but there was big risk in that moment to stay so close to his teammate, then the momentum, then the win.
Well, that makes me feel a bit better about yesterday. I would say that was part of my plan, but well done everyone. Car was mega once again. Yeah, what a day. Thank you very much. Very much appreciate it. Let's go.
A great attacking move, and then a conservation drive to the flag. A hug from the boss, and the largest trophy about to be deposited into his grasp. First, though, the cooldown run.
For me, the only problem is the bouncing.
Yeah.
And I'm bouncing, and then nice. Nice. You were flat here? Or?
Oh, no. Were you?
No. Fuck, this issue must be there. Yeah. I'm surprised it was so much.
Oh!
Bye, Oscar. This was sketchy on the first couple of laps. Yeah. Look at that.
Oh, yeah, that's the bouncing you were speaking about.
After this, I was like, okay, chill. Track limits. Nice.
Whoa! That's a really good move.
I see that. There's a couple laps where you had like you lost a bit more time. Yeah.
Final comment there, Lando Norris saying there were a couple of laps where you lost a bit more time, and that's when the gap came down from 5 seconds to 3. We wondered whether we'd get a last lap battle, but then the lock-up, and it wasn't even a lock-up really, was it? It was just a wide moment for Norris, trying to take those hard tyres to the end. But the move on the first racing lap decided things. And Lando's mum is ready to see her boy on P2. His first podium at this storied racetrack. So Charles Leclerc standing back on the podium again. Never easy when Max Verstappen is chasing you all the way to the end. But it was an immaculate race under that pressure. And Lando Norris gathering himself and heading as part of a third consecutive McLaren 1-2. This time, unlike the last two, in second position. The roll call now includes the name Oscar Piastri, winners of the Belgian Grand Prix. He is heading to the top step to hear his national anthem once again, his 6th Grand Prix win of the season. Special stuff to celebrate with your family underneath the podium. You saw his father Chris there, who supported him all the way through the racing ladder. He's watched his boy win the Belgian Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri with another trophy for the cabinet. There'll also be the gold medal as well, in front of a packed track of fans continuing to make their way onto the circuit. There is the gold medal for the driver who always looked favourite to win the Grand Prix. From his raw pace, Verstappen took the sprint, Lando took the pole. This is a lovely moment for Phil McWilliams, who is Oscar Piastri's #1 mechanic and the man representing the champion team, who have claimed another 1-2, their 3rd in a row. Lando Norris claims his 37th career podium. Disappointed to not convert pole to the win. As Jolyn mentioned, he is heading to a real circuit where he has had great form in the past. A former Ferrari man as their current driver. The third place trophy, Jackie Ickx presenting Charles Leclerc with another trophy for the cabinet. He's 48th in Formula One. Well, we had to wait for it, and in the end it was settled immediately. Norris went on the charge. Piastri had a response. The re-established lead is 16 points in the Drivers' World Championship as Charles Leclerc makes the most of the Ferrari updates and joins the McLaren pair. Glad those mum. Excited to see her boy on the podium. Smiles all round for Piastri. Norris has 4 wins this campaign. He now has the 6. Charles Leclerc dreaming of getting one by the time that the season concludes, but it is going to be a McLaren driver who succeeds Max Verstappen as world champion. They continue to just rattle off the 1-2s time and time again. And Oscar's mechanic is enjoying the moment with his driver who's taken the win. Great reception from the fans who had to endure the wet conditions earlier on. Delighted that we were able to get the full race in for them. And it dried out pretty quickly. When it did, Piastri found his way by. And that is the story of the Belgian Grand Prix in 2025. I want to thank the whole team, both at Biggin Hill in the UK and on site across a huge sprawling site of Spa. It is one of Formula One's fabled venues. It is a racetrack that every driver wants to triumph at. And this year, that triumph, that victory belongs to Oscar Piastri, who's taken the win. Goodbye. Here we go again. Anything is possible. And the crowd absolutely love it. This is why we love Formula One.
With a mega move on the opening lap, Oscar Piastri has picked up his 6th race win of the season and opened up the advantage to his teammate to 16 points with 1 race remaining before the summer break. Thank goodness we got a race in here in Belgium, and what a race it was at that. Let's get straight to it though here in the paddock, because we have Laurent Mekies standing by alongside us, Jolyon Palmer and Alex Brundle too. Laurent, Max, P4 today, and for Yuki Tsunoda just tumbling out the points. We'll start with Max Verstappen and that battle with Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, I think Max would probably have enough of Charles' gearbox tonight. I think he spent every single laps in Charles' gearbox. It's part of the game. You know, we didn't get much wet running, and obviously we did make quite aggressive choices with the car to try to be in a good place for the heavy rain that somehow came earlier today, but it's part of the game. Then after on the dry, I think Max has tried everything to go around Charles, but I don't think there have been very many overtaking on the dry this afternoon, so it was really tough, especially with the car in that configuration. So it's part of the game. We start 4th, finish 4th, still a few points, and probably still some work to do to close the gap to McLaren here.
Laurent, in terms of the car, if you had a crystal ball and you'd known the conditions today, How much was on the table with a compromise for wet conditions when actually the majority of the race was dry?
You know, for sure you pay something. There is no questions. You probably pay a little bit in qualifying. You pay a little bit in the race today. So it's all very fine margin, no, between starting in front of Charles, starting behind Charles. But you know, it's the same hindsight for everyone. So it's part of the game. I think they push each other very hard. You know, Charles has beaten us for 0.003 of a second yesterday, and we had to watch his gearbox today. So it's the way it is.
I guess really at a race like that, where it's one stop, you stopped on the same lap as Charles. There's really nothing more you can do as a strategist or as a strategy team to get your driver ahead. But how have you found it as just race one in Red Bull? Well, you've obviously been looking and trying to understand how this team have been working for a while, and now you come in with new ideas. How different is it?
Oh, look, it's been great to be in the team at the racetrack. You know, it's something to be with the team at the factory, and it's been incredible to start to meet the people in the last 2 weeks. It's something different to be with the team at the racetrack. You know, it's a great feeling. It's an incredible fighting spirit that you see in every angle of Milton Keynes at the factory and of every angle in the garage. So you know, honored and privileged. You know, everybody wants to come back to the fight for the wins in every possible situation, and we know we have work to do, but the group is tight and is pushing forward.
Laurent, for Yuki today, it seemed there was a bit of a miscommunication he's been saying in the media pen about when to pit, missing the pit entry and continuing the lap, and that ultimately meaning pitting too late, and that was key today, wasn't it? But we have seen a step on from Yuki. He said that seeing you smile at him in qualifying gave him a huge boost in confidence. What more do you think we can expect from him in that second Red Bull seat?
Well, at first